Hey, let's do a 30-second moment of silence, and please stand if you'd like. Thank you.
Think of all the veterans that have sacrificed their lives for this country.
And their families. Okay, thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's May 31st, 2023, 10 a.m. Going to open the joint meeting of the Nye County Board of Commissioners, Nye County Board of Highway Commissioners, Nye County Licensing and Liquor Board, Nye County Board of Health is the governing body of the unincorporated town of Pahrump. It's the governing body of the unincorporated towns of Beatty, Gabbs, Manhattan, and as the Board of Trustees for the Pahrump Pool District. Commissioner Carbone, would you be kind enough to lead us in the pledge, please?
Of course. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Manager Sutton, number 2, please.
Item 2, general public comment, up to 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on the matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item.
Okay, Jane, did I just see Sam?
Yes, Sam is
Chambers?
back. Hi, Chair.
Well, welcome back, Sam. This morning, the first thing I said was, please make sure you address Janie as Janie and not by her middle name, Sam.
Janie Sam.
Thank you.
And then welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
You too.
Okay, so.
Chair, we have someone here in Chambers for us.
Thank you. And if you could help me out, Sam and Janie, with the camera on the podium, and that way I can see and we can get through this. And I have someone here and some people here in Chambers in Tonopah as well. So go ahead, Ms. Lane in Pahrump, please.
My name is Priscilla Lane. I started the Friends of the Wild Horses and Burros. We want to give thanks for all those who have given their lives for our country and to keep us safe. May we always remember them and their sacrifice. On the heels of Memorial Day, I would like to mention the 3 million horses and mules that stood with our men serving in the Civil War. In the addition that the horses and mules continued to serve us, bringing us across the plains, opening up the West and plowing our fields. Together they helped build our great country, but it was the back of a horse. Friends of the Wild has another meeting scheduled for June 24th, 11 a.m. at the Desert Green Clubhouse off of Wilson. Please come and participate. Give us your ideas and thoughts of how to help stop the BLM from using helicopters to round up our wild horses and burros. They were meant to run free, not to be in facilities, separating families and being sterilized. The BLM were to protect, not harass, capture, mark, or kill. They again are doing just that. Our small organization needs your help to support to get the message to DC to stop BLM. If you have any means to help, please contact us. We are located on Facebook with Friends of the Wild Horses and Burros. The SB 90 did not make it to the governor's desk because the last assembly let it die. They had 102 days to vote, but they decided not to vote. This was not to offend This was not to offend the money givers. Instead, they disappointed all the kids who worked hard to submit this bill. There's just far too much government. There's too many assemblies over assemblies over assemblies, and it's no wonder why it takes forever to get anything accomplished. And I want to thank the staff again for helping us put the ordinance through for our group. Then again, thank you, and everyone stay safe, and I appreciate all that our military has done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. Go ahead, Mr. Newman here in Tonopah. Please state and spell your last name. Push the button, please.
Okay, my name's Caleb Newman. Caleb with a C, C-A-L-E-B, N-E-U-M-A-N-N. The reason why I'm coming to you guys today is because concerns of the road in Old Town Round Mountain, and the highway that we're speaking of is the 378 is the highway, and it goes up the old dump road, and part of it was paved and part of it's not. But the parts that are paved, there's big potholes in it, and it's very unsafe to drive the speed limit. And you have to go on the other side of the road when you're going down to go around them. It's pretty bad. And anyway, it's really unsafe. Additionally, in the Old Town Round Mountain, I know you guys have nothing to do with this, but I just kind of want to speak my mind on it because it's a concern. Devaluation of the property in Round Mountain is starting to happen by the town because they're putting dirt on top of the blacktop. So they say there's not enough people to live in the town to even make a road there now. So anyway, I don't agree with that. And I believe that they're working on roads nearby town in Hadley, and they're doing all that stuff, but they're not doing anything with Round Mountain. And also I could say for years that they'd never done anything with the drainage ditches in the town or the roads. They recently have been up there trying to fix the stuff, but like they have not caught up anything. And so I'm using a tractor to work on the land to fix the drainage, and the roads are being put with dirt on top of them, on top of the blacktop, and there's big rocks everywhere that could cause a flat tire because the dirt that they put on the road is full of rocks. So anyway, I'd like to bring that to your guys' attention, and anybody willing to help me to figure this out, I'm open. You can call me on my cell phone number, 775-924-1461. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am, in Pahrump, please.
Hi there. My name is Mary Kay Radcliffe. It's MaryKayRadcliffe. And it's short and sweet. It's pertaining to the Tiny House Community Project. If we could possibly have some type of information that is factual, and so the bickering and the rumors and the fighting, and none of us know, what is true and what's not. So if we could have some kind of meeting in the near future where we get to ask questions, I for one would appreciate it. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Radcliffe. Do we have anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
Chair, due to the AT&T outages, we are not connected to the teleconference this morning.
Thank you.
So old habits die hard, don't they, Chair?
Should we actually make an announcement?
Yes.
Is that going to help?
Yeah, I don't know that it'll help, but go. There you go. Go, Frank.
Is Granicus available?
Yes, Chair. Everything is working with our systems and the live feed.
Yes.
the public-
So go ahead and, if you don't mind, make the announcement for the folks that are viewing via Granicus and the people in the public that are there.
Of course. So there was a fiber optic line that was cut, and numerous different carriers for both landline and cellular are out. Currently, our phone system is down here, so we're not able to operate the teleconference. However, We have our disclaimers on our agendas that allow us to continue even though we're experiencing technical difficulties.
As long as we're recording and we have information being recorded.
Correct.
Correct? Yes.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Lapointe, please, and Pahrump.
Hi, Kay Lapointe. Last name Lapointe. I have some people behind me that are going to be speaking also in my behalf. Last meeting, there was a person here who called in from an entity. You guys questioned her about an organization called Cotillion for Success. So I'm here to speak about the cotillion that happened at J.G. Johnson this year. A lot of you were present at that. I wanted to make very clear to the public, because I listened to the phone calls that were made. I want to make very clear that the entity that did the cotillion this year is not the entity that received funding from you guys. We created a 501 when it was clear that there was going to be no help to run the cotillion at JG this year. And with community and public support for a tiny fraction of cost, we were able to pull that off. And it was wildly successful. And the parents were great. The kids were great. Everybody learned a lot. We had a great time. But I just wanted to make that clear to the public, and there'll be more talk about that. It was run under the guidance of our principal, Sylvia DeMasi, and her assistant, our vice principal, Samantha Moore. Like I said, it was totally funded by the community and community organizations. It was all volunteer work. Our dance teacher is a silver tapper. She totally gave of her time, totally free. So the whole thing, we were able to pull off for around $4,000 in comparison to the $260,000 that was given to an entity that left us with 5 tables, 16 dresses, and some markers that you lay on the floor. So I just want the public to know that what happened at JG this year was totally run by a different organization. And I know one person called in and said, all we taught them to do was a conga line. No, the kids learned 4 dances. They also learned about pledge etiquette, flag etiquette, how to carry a flag, how to hold a flag, how to act when the flag is presented, and many, many other lessons. So just so you know that, and we'll be here again to just let the public know what happened this year was not associated with that entity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lapointe. Go ahead and Pahrump, please. Go ahead and Pahrump, please.
Hi, my name is Sylvia DeMasi, SYLVIADEMASI. I am the principal at J.G. Johnson Elementary, and this is my assistant principal, Samantha Moore. We are here to kind of piggyback off of what Kay said and discuss the cotillion. I was present last year as well for the cotillion. I was the assistant principal then. And so I had the opportunity to see the cotillion under the guidance of the other entity, and then this year under the guidance of Kay and her team. And the events that have transpired surrounding the cotillion are unfortunate. However, we absolutely thank Kay and her team that pulled it all together. They went out, and again, they are separate from who had done the cotillion the previous year. They went out and they got donations, and they were able to pull off a cotillion for our students, and it was phenomenal. And our families were so grateful. Many of our students never have the opportunity to dress up in a fancy dress with shoes and learn to ballroom dance. And I mean, even as an adult, that's something that I haven't really had the opportunity to do. So what it has provided for our students is not just learning how to dance. It has taught them to socialize. again, after COVID and not being able to, even see each other's faces. Now they were able to learn to dance with each other. They were able to learn appropriate table manners, which is something that I'm sure most of us know is lacking in our youth and many of our adults as well. And they were able to learn how to be good citizens, not just of J.G. Johnson, but of the Pahrump community, good citizens as people. So thank you for your support, your continued support, and thank you to Kay and her entire team that was able to do the cotillion for our school again this year.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvia. And Samantha. Go ahead, Mr. Jem in Pahrump, please.
Eddie Jim, J-I-M. I just want to say congrats to the 49th graduation of Pahrump Valley High School. You heard me right, 49th. Somebody's made a mistake there. So anyway, I didn't think it was fair to the class of 74. So I came up here and made my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Trenna in Pahrump, please.
Thank you. Apologize in advance for my voice. It's fading away again. Anyway, I want to just fill in a couple blanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Trenner, T-R-E-N-N-E-R. I have to whisper my voice, right? Sorry. Anyway, Kay and I worked on putting this together, and I cannot tell you how incredible Kay was. She did the most amazing job. We brought the money together through the community. It was really hard, and we barely had enough, but we did it. We're going to set it up to where we have it in advance. But I want to tell you without hesitation, I listened to the interview with Sharon Black that you guys did last week. It is shot full of holes, and I can fill in all the blanks. I was there. I worked with her. I apologize to both all of you and the community for ever having invited her in. I honestly believed that she was an honorable person, and I look to our new DA, Mr. Kunze, and hope that he will look into this further, because this is wrong. She has our children's money, and I would really like to see us retrieve it. And I can tell you over and over and over where she did not do what she said she would do. And the documentary thing was very, very interesting. I consulted with her. As you know, I shoot TV shows. And I consulted with her, because she has never shot a TV show before, on how to construct that documentary. So it was at length, and I can testify to that too. I want our money back. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Westerlin here in Tonopah, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Westerlund with the town of Tonopah. Last name is Westerlund. And I just wanted to update the Commissioners on a few things in Tonopah. Our indoor archery range, we're reviewing the 90% drawings currently. We're hoping to get the comments back to the architect by early next week. Jim Butler Days was this last weekend. It was a huge success. The Jim Butler Day Committee did a fantastic job. The rodeo was great, and we had a lot of positive feedback from the spectators about the fairgrounds, specifically the OHB staging area. I wanted to thank the Nye County Road Department for their assistance in that. It just looks fantastic out there. It was really nice to have another restroom facility for people to use. And we're currently waiting to hear back from the NORI grant that we put in for the Nevada Outdoor Recreation Grant. We're trying to pick up or install another bleacher, but it'll be handicap accessible. And we're going to try and get some handicap accessible picnic tables for the new awnings that were in the OHV area. And along with a new announcer's booth that'll be weather resistant. If anybody's been up there, they can see what the old crow's nest looks like. But I just wanted to give the commissioners a little update, and I'm going to try and do that at least once a month so you guys can just keep updated on what's going on in Tonopah. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in Pahrump wishing to speak?
No, sir.
Tonopah? Okay. Seeing no other further public comment, I will close public comment at this time and move on to number 3, please, Manager.
Item 3, Commissioner Manager's comments. This item limited to announcements or topics and issues proposed for future workshops and agendas.
Commissioner Boskovich, please. Anything?
Thank you, Chair. I actually have nothing right now.
Okay. Commissioner Carbone?
Thank you, Chair. Again, for the folks that were talking about Cotillion, I believe the commissioners are very well aware of what had happened, and yes, we'll do whatever we can to make sure, if we can retrieve funds, we'll do that. Again, we thank you for your help and your kindness that you shared with the individuals. I did sit out there and watch the young folks while they were doing their dance, as well as they were doing their, looking at their table manners. It was pretty unique. They were having a good time, I can tell you that. So I'm very happy to hear that our children are getting some type of training for the future. Again, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes, in regards to the other comments that were made, I'd like to say that there's follow-up made by staff tomorrow, and then they'll be getting a hold of people, as in Ms. Radcliffe, to figure out how we can do something. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And for the record, we will make it on the record as soon as Commissioner Cox arrives in chambers. I'd like to mention that June 24th here in Tonopah is the 100th anniversary for the VFW. Very significant event. Starts at 10:30 in the morning. They have a series of events going on, dignitaries that will be here. And I would certainly appreciate the word getting out. I know that they will be sending out some type of flyer and posting, and it would certainly be appreciated if we had support from the entire county. This is VFW here in Tonopah, but it's the veterans of foreign wars, and that includes everybody. So we'd love to see as many as possible up here in Tonopah for that event.
Chair, was there a time?
Also, 10:30, starts at 10:30, Commissioner. And that is on a Saturday. I know you like to sleep in on Saturdays, but you might have to make an exception. I'd like to welcome everybody in Pahrump and in Tonopah for your attendance today. And with that, I will turn it over to any of the managers, directors wishing to speak.
We do have some people.
Good morning, Commissioners. Director Wagner, WAGG-ONER. Just felt it pertinent to again address the tiny home rumors. They are rumors. Again, there is no tiny home project that is in any kind of planning stage or application stage with the county anyway. I know we've had one that was talked about via YouTube that was out in Crystal. We did meet with those folks. We informed them that what they were proposing, selling, would not work, would not be allowed. As far as here in Pahrump, we have not been contacted by anybody to do any kind of tiny home village. Again, it was a rumor that was put out on the internet. We can't help conversations that go on Facebook, but again, I'm going to say the planning department contact information is on our website. And if anybody ever has a question or wants to validate or invalidate a rumor, they're welcome to call.
And I apologize, but can you tell us again why this came up in the first place?
It was due to a state mandate that we have to choose one of 3 scenarios. If we don't have to choose all 3, but we have to choose one to allow tiny homes in some form or fashion in one of our zoning districts. The only place in Nye County that's got zoning districts is Pahrump. Direction from the board at that time was to mimic what we already have for Park Model Park, which is an RV park, but for a little longer stay. Very strict development standards, very strict in locations they can go. They aren't your typical mobile home park that you see around town that's, you know, been here for 50 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. Today there's development standards and they're quite strict. And that is what we are currently in the process of drafting. We've actually got it drafted. It's in review right now with the DA's office.
Thank you, and that was mainly for the public is why I asked.
One more public thing. Isn't it true, Director Wagner, that in no way would the county build a tiny home facility for anybody?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
And Director, before you step away, I have just a question for clarification, please.
Sure.
You mentioned the mandate of the 3. It's my understanding that it's a minimum of 1 that we discuss and that we would have to go with, but we could go with 2, we could go with all 3 options. Is that correct or not?
That is correct, and that's based off of population of the county. If you are in a population, a city, a county, that has a population of over 100,000, you had to adopt 2 of the scenarios minimum. And being that we are under 100,000, we are only required to accommodate with 1 of them.
Thank you.
You bet.
Sure hope that helps. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
We'll just keep putting it out there. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Hopefully somebody will post this on YouTube and we can put this to rest.
Any other managers wishing to speak, managers or directors?
I see no one, Chair. We're going to have clerk's going to do it the second time. Thank you.
Okay, we will close Commissioner Manager comments and move on to number 4, please, Manager.
Item 4 is approval of the agenda for May 31st, 2023. The only item to be removed from today's agenda is item number 5.
You know what? That's always a good thing.
Yeah, no emergencies.
Thank you.
None you can do anything
I'd like
about.
to, excuse me?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I missed what you said. I'm sorry.
We were just joking about there were emergencies with the phones, but nothing we could do anything about.
I see. Okay, let's, I'd like to open with number 16, please.
Item 16 for possible action, presentation and discussion of departmental budgetary requests for fiscal year 2024 for the Health and Human Services offices.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before Corinne comes up to the podium, I did wanted to explain why this item is here today. That was I neglected to include this request on our previous meeting during the budget workshop. So I needed to, of course, make that, bring that position forward. As well as this position is completely outside of the general fund. It is not funded by general fund monies. It comes from the HHS separate funding, Fund 102A3. And that fund is doing one of our funds that's doing very well. They roll over an average of about $600,000 to $1 million per fiscal year. The last fiscal year was $700,000. This is fiscal year that's slated to roll over about $600,000. They also receive about $1.3 million in revenue per year. So I wanted to let the board know the status of that fund.
Thank you, Comptroller. Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Good morning, Commissioners. Corinne Smith, Karyn Smith, Director of Health and Human Services. And I'm requesting this position to fill for needing a supervisor. The supervisor I had in Pahrump did retire back in August, and then I filled the position with one in Tonopah, and she moved. So I am down a supervisor. I'm also bringing it up at a higher grade in order to assist with the processing of different financial grants and the different programs that we have been incurring over the last few years. I do have a very small vacant spot in my office right now due to the person retiring in August. And Liz reminded me this position was a position that has not been filled since back in about 2016. It was a position I held long before promoting up to director. So it's not actually, what did I say?
Yeah, it's not an active position, but it is a position that once existed.
It says to, excuse me, Chair, may I?
Yes, of course, Commissioner.
Director Smith, it says to fill a vacant position. So is it vacant, or it looks like it was vacant since 2017?
That was what we were trying to clarify, because the fact that it had been a position, I thought it was just filling a vacant, even though it has not been filled since 2016 or 17. So it was a position that had been created back before, but we had not filled it since that time.
Would you say that this position is self-funded because it comes from grants outside of the general fund then?
Yes, it comes from the Health and Human Service budget 10283, and then also, well, so that one will be funded from that. Some of my other positions are also offset with grants over and above, also being funded through 10283.
But this is not an offset from grants, it's an offset from 10283.
Which is not general fund.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
And Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
and this is actually an upgrade to that position that you didn't fill.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody, because kind of walked around it a little bit. So, and again, you have the room, because we know how crowded you are over there.
Yeah, I have that little closet
You
available.
have the closet, yeah. Yeah, got that. So we just want to make sure you have a place for the person to actually occupy.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Any other?
I see another questions here in Pahrump, Chair, from the
Okay,
for the
I
board.
have no questions for the director.
Public comment?
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go too far away, please, Ms. Smith.
No.
I'll open it up for public comment at this time.
No one's coming forward.
Okay, nobody's coming forward in Tonopah. I will close public comment at this time. Looking for entertaining a motion, please.
Chair? Make a
Yes, sir.
motion to fulfill this requirement as requested.
Second.
Further discussion would be, if I may, Chair, you'll notice within the, our other agenda items, we have stated that we would have a hiring freeze, we would do a lot of things. You were pretty smart getting up here right first and foremost. How did you pull that one off before we even heard those items? Good on you.
Thanks to Liz.
Thank you.
And also to clarify, the position is a senior position.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and Commissioner Strickland, I appreciate you bringing that to light. But I also want to reiterate what our comptroller opened with, is that this is a separate budget, healthy 10283, separate funding. This position is going to help satisfy, as the director mentioned, that we are now down the one position in Tonopah and also the one position in Pahrump. And this will help offset and assist with Health and Human Services activity.
Thank you for the clarification, Chair, and I so agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a motion on the floor and a second. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Carbone, aye.
Strickland, aye.
Jabbour's aye. Passes 4-1 absence. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you. And thank you for what you and your staff do for the people of Nye County. and with all the assistance that you give them. Number 15, please, Manager.
Item 15 for possible action, presentation, discussion, and deliberation to approve, amend and approve, or reject the program funding request for the Tonopah Child Development Center under the Nye County ARPA Recovery Plan and Policy, Public Health Assistance, TPH Childcare, in the amount of $300,000, 10-minute time limit.
Good morning.
I am not timing these girls. Sorry, Chair.
Good morning. Jessica McCutcheon, MCCUTCHEON, Grants Administrator for Nye County. Nye County was recently awarded a U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Economic Development Initiative grant for $1 million to provide funding for the construction of the Tonopah Child Development Center. At the time of the application, when it was submitted, a budget for a new facility was included. Since the time of submission, there's been an existing facility found. So Nye County's been working with the Nye County School District to acquire what is formerly known as Silver Rim Elementary School. The School Board of Trustees had an item on their April 27th, 23 to transfer the property to Nye County without consideration. The item was tabled due to a question of ownership. The ownership has been confirmed, vested in NCSD, and the Chief Financial Officer, Ray Ritchie, will be placing the item to transfer the property to Nye County on the next available agenda. The ability to utilize an existing facility has cut the total cost of the project by more than half, which is wonderful. There are improvements that will need to be made and can be covered by the grant funding. However, we are asking for the Nye County ARPA Recovery Plan and Policy Public Health Assistance, TPH Child Care funding in the amount of $300,000 to fund the environmental review, air quality testing, and a training program to train and certify child care providers. So there is that $300,000 that was allocated for Tonopah Child Care. No one has come forth to ask for that, so we are asking that help to fund the Child Development Center.
Stephanie Elliott, Contracts and Grants Manager, ELLIOTT. We are looking to have Assistant County Manager Lorena Dellinger is the project manager for this. So this would be considered a department request. We'd like to track that under admin or administration. We've also been in contact with William Allen, who has done a walkthrough of the actual building and believes that with the $1 million grant award through HUD, which the board did accept back on March 21st, in the addition of these additional ARPA fundings, we should be able to complete the project in full. They are working on the additional agenda item as we speak to deed over the building to Nye County. And William Allen has stated that it's really good to go. Most of everything is code compliant. There's a little bit of graffiti and vandalism that needs to be cleaned up, possibly new windows, but otherwise the classrooms are ready. And we're also working with the Nevada Cooperative Extension and Misha Allen, who does wonderful things up in Tonopah. She's working on finding additional grant funding if needed, and they will be working on the training of staff members. We'll call them center staff. So this will not be a Nye County run development center. We're looking at getting another nonprofit to actually take care of the children, teach the children, offer after school programs, summer programs of that nature. So it will be a Nye County facility, but it will be managed by a nonprofit. So we would really appreciate your support in just reallocating those funds specifically for this project so that they're not available for the public to request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Commissioner Carbone, were you waving somebody goodbye, or did you want to?
No, I was waving goodbye to somebody, but thank you for calling on me. I appreciate it. So, is there any issues in regards to this facilities that we should be aware of? County Manager.
Thank you, Commissioner Carbone.
Whatever, you can call me whatever.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, yes, thank you for asking that. I was apprised just recently about the fact that the Silver Room facility was donated, I want to say it was back in the 70s, and the grantor included in the deed a reversionary clause that said if the property was ever used for anything other than as public school, then it would revert back to the grantor. That's not significant for purposes today. This is just allocating some money towards the project. We don't even own the building yet, as was already stated. Assistant County Manager Dellinger is working on removing that restriction. She doesn't believe there will be any issue with that. She's in contact with the developer, and that would just take a piece of paper from them stating that they are fine with removing that reversionary interest. But that's the only issue that we're aware of with that building, but again, not pertinent for today's discussion.
So if in fact there was an issue, we can always put a contingency on this funds that is contingent on getting that removed?
You could, absolutely.
Does that make sense, DA?
Yes, and I'm working on this with the school district as well, so.
I kind of figured you were.
Good to hear. That would be the DA.
The problem is, it's owned by Anaconda, which no longer exists. So there's definitely issues of trying to trace the who actually has control of that the company assets. So.
All right.
Thank you. Director Allen has just
Thank you,
walked
Mr.
in the
DA.
room. I don't know if you have any questions, but I sure do, if I may. Chair, go ahead, please. It's your stomping grounds, if I may.
Thank you. I thought perhaps you were calling on Director Allen.
May I, please? I've asked him to come to the room, and he's here.
Certainly.
Director Allen, if you could, please.
As Director Allen is coming down, I want you to know and the public to know that I too have toured the facility with Director Allen. I want to say I've toured the building 4 times in the past year. Wow. And I believe it's a beautiful building, and I so appreciate that we have Misha Allen, we have the town manager of Tonopah, Joe Westerlin, we have the district attorney, Brian Kunze. We have so many people that are working, and of course our assistant county manager, Lorena Dillinger, working on this, and there are others, many others, working on this to fill this so important void of childcare that is, lacking is not the word. It's non-existent here in Tonopah and in this community. So this will absolutely fill a void and give opportunity to single mothers, to parents, working parents, to give them the opportunity to go out and work their career of what they were educated for, and move forward and help their children in a great way, positive way. So I wanted to share that with everybody, and thank you all for your support so far on this, and especially with the grants administration and grants manager working on this as well, and their teams. So go ahead, Director Allen, please let us hear from you.
William Allen, A-L-L-E-N. So we are talking about Silver Rim Elementary, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We're curious what the grants administrator stated, that you've been through the facility and you think it's viable, and, you know, I worry about air conditioning, you know, the components that go bad that probably need replaced right off the bat. Thank you.
So depending on what we plan to do with it, it does have evaporative cooling. There is some HVAC, but mainly it's evaporative cooling, which is actually viable in Tonopah. It works pretty well. The electrical panel is very good. We will need to recertify the fire system. It did sustain some damage when we had the earthquake, similar to our other buildings in Tonopah. Not anything worse than we've seen in our other buildings in Tonopah, and definitely repairable. Wish we had it here at the Calvetta.
How many square feet is it, do you recall? Is it 5, 7, 10?
No, it's probably 15 to 20,000.
Wow.
Right.
So apportionately, we could take it on in apportionment? I mean, I imagine the classrooms are sole and separate, so we don't, it's not just one big roof line, is it?
It is one big roof line, but with the evaporative cooling, comparatively speaking, it'd be considerably cheaper
maintain.
to run than some of our others.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get an opportunity to view it prior to the meeting.
It needs maintenance, needs a lot of building, a lot of windows are busted out due to vandalism. Needs a good cleaning. It does have a complete commercial kitchen. I do not pretend to know the condition of that, but it looks complete. Walk-in refrigerator and freezer, which would give us an alternate in Tonopah, which we don't have, for the jail and for senior center. A gym that's kind of interesting. If you're looking at it for daycare, that would be a great playpen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We used to have Key Care back in the day when the old high school here in Pahrump, and that's where they was in the gym. And it let the kids just be kids after getting out of school and be in an environment that, because it snows, it's cold, so you'll be heating mostly when it comes to expenses on that facility.
Correct, yeah, and it does have a boiler, which we would have to get recertified and do an assessment on it, make sure it's something that we may have to replace, but for now, we don't know that.
This is super exciting. I mean, cannot more than reiterate what these commissioners have said. These ARPA funds, these opportunities that we're getting from HUD to be able to get $1 million earmarked for us, this is huge, and we have such a great team putting all this together. Thank you, Director Allen. That was all my questions, Chair.
Just add, we did a couple of walkthroughs. It's still some discovery, likely, but it looked good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other, Commissioner Boskovich, did you have any questions for Director Allen?
I don't have any questions. I say let's do this thing.
Director?
Okay, let me.
Chair, just a second. Director Allen?
Yes, Commissioner Carbone.
Obviously, we'll have an engineer go through this building to validate any of the issues we might have.
So that's actually one of the best parts is because of the earthquake, we actually already had an engineer go through it. He's done an evaluation. We could do more, absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you made that comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner and Director Allen. Let me open this up for public comment at this time, please.
Anyone here in Pahrump? I got one moving.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Clark, CLARK. I just have a quick question. How many childcare children do we expect in this facility? And what are the restrooms and that type of facility for them set up for? That's all. Anybody can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if we have any more public comment, please. Is there anyone else here in Pahrump? I have no one else here, Manager or Chair.
It's okay, and I have nobody standing at the podium in Tonopah, so let me close public comment at this time. And Director Allen, if he's still nearby, I'm going to say that I recall in the public areas for the students when it was elementary school that there were 3 sets, maybe 4 sets of restrooms, male and female. There may have been some sinks. There were some sinks in some of the units, classrooms that were designated for science activity, and perhaps in the principal's office there may have been a small washroom type thing. So I believe that the restroom, to answer the restroom question, it's adequate. Of course, in any school, elementary school, we have to have sufficient facilities for them to relieve themselves. As far as the children, we have a population of we'll say approximately 2,500 people here in Tonopah. And we have the elementary school, the middle schoolers now are up at the high school. A lot of children are being homeschooled besides going to school. So to give you a number, I don't want to misspeak, but I would say with children these are for children that are not in school. So this is tough to gauge and measure. I'll have to get back to you, Ms. Clark, and to the other commissioners and to the public with an most accurate number as possible, if that makes sense.
Ms. Clark said thank you. I don't see anybody else.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear her. Thank you. I didn't even see her move, but thank you, Ms. Clark, for the question. It's a good question. Thank you. Okay. I've opened and closed public comment.
Motion to
I am
approve.
looking for a motion.
Motion to approve by Strickland with the conditions that we get granted the facility in the name of Nye County or the town of Pahrump.
Second. We're approving the $300,000.
Yes. It would be, Commissioner Strickland would be under Nye County.
Thank you, sir. I just wasn't sure. You might do a bait and switch later.
No. Well, as I think Director Allen would love to do the bait and switch, as he said, he'd love to have the building in Pahrump.
10-4.
Maybe the next building.
Contingent on any deed restrictions.
Did you want to amend?
I will remove my
Because-
first. Would you remove your second? And I'll restate. If that pleases the chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition of the deed being deeded in the name of Nye County, this ARPA funds for the Child Development Center.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners. There's no further discussion from the commission. I have a motion and a second on the floor. I'll call for the vote, please.
Strickland's aye.
Carbone, aye.
Boskovich, aye.
Jabbour's aye. Number 15 passes 4-1 absence. Commissioner Cox.
Congratulations, you guys. My goodness, that is looking outside the box. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to number 6, please, Manager.
Item 6, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, presentation, discussion, and deliberation to review and approve or amend and approve the Nye County final budget assumptions for fiscal year 2023 through 2024.
Good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Jordan, Nye County Finance. And I wanted to present to you today the final budget assumptions and basically everything that was included in the fiscal year 24 budget for your consideration today. And if we can put up the presentation, this is a duplicate of the previous presentation. I did some adjustments to the figures, but we'll go over it and I'll explain everything that is included in these budgets. And keep in mind, this affects the Nye County General Fund. So we can go to the next slide. As I had stated previously, net proceeds for the Department of Taxation is one of the big impacts in this fiscal year 24. One of the challenges that we, of course, have seen. The unrealized investment and losses will continue. We have seen an improvement in the current fiscal year. However, we are being cautious when budgeting for fiscal year 24, not knowing what the market will continue, just being cautious there as we budget forward. Another big impact were the PERS increase, which is the 6% to police and fire, and 3.75 for regular PERS, and that was built into the budgets, of course, because that's part of the CBA agreements. The other increase was 3% for our health insurance. Next slide. Yep. That one. Okay. The supply chain, as I have previously stated, has continued. We're seeing that most of the items are starting to come in, with the exception of vehicles. That is affecting all of our departments that have orders out. I know we've had orders out for over a year now, and unfortunately, we do not see a light at the end of that tunnel yet, but we, of course, will keep an eye on it. The historical inflation levels, of course, continued in fiscal year 23. They have started to level out. However, they are higher than we would like to see them. That has also been built into our budgets with the CPI increase. We do expect a slowdown in spending throughout the country due to the high inflation as well as interest rates that our federal government had increased, so that we do anticipate a slowdown in seed tax. So we are, again, budgeting conservatively on that front. We go to the next slide. This is the revenue assumptions for the final budget. And if we go to the, I wanted to point out on this slide, of course, where we have been, and as you can see, we're starting to dip in a little bit in fiscal year 24, but still a little bit higher than fiscal year 23. We are going to take that, once again, conservative budgeting for the future years if that is preferred. Next slide. Our consolidated taxes, those are our sales taxes. I am budgeting 100% of the forecast from D-Tax, and that is at $22,085,099. And we have outpaced the consolidated taxes 104% year over year, but I would recommend that we still budget at the 100% that our figures are from D-Tax and be hopefully happily surprised towards the end of the year. But we, like I said, we have been hitting that target, if not exceeding it.
Chair? Just for,
Yes, Commissioner.
just so folks out there, when you hear things like consolidated tax, property tax, net tax, could you kind of explain what consolidated tax is so they understand that?
Happy to. So consolidated taxes is a portion of the taxes when us as consumers go to a purchase anything within Nye County other than food, because food does not get taxed. But any of our expenses where we do pay that sales tax, a portion of all of it goes up to the state, and then a portion is returned to all the counties, all the jurisdictions within Nevada. And that is the consolidation of taxes, whether it's sales tax from, let's say, Walmart, or that you're buying a vehicle. Those are the consolidated taxes that's included in here.
And that's the reason why we always say, keep your tax dollars here.
Correct. Very good point. Yes, if we can, of course, do most of our purchases here in Nye County, those dollars do come back to us. The next big revenue that we receive is, of course, our property taxes. And right now we're estimating $17,064,239. And I am budgeting 100% of those forecasts from D-Tax. The net proceeds, as I had previously explained, are definitely taking a big hit throughout the last several years. This year, for fiscal year 24, it's a $55,109. Keep in mind that these revenues are receipted into the general fund. However, those net proceeds are then moved out to our capital fund, and that's where our capital expenses come from, or our capital projects. So as you can see, that is one of the challenges that we're seeing with completing any new capital projects that we may have in mind. If we go to the next slide, the general fund also receives, of course, other sources of revenue, one of them being PILT, payment in lieu of taxes, and due to the majority of the land being BLM land, we do receive a payment from our federal government for PILT funding. For fiscal year 24, I am budgeting at $3.7 million. We still do not have the final figures for fiscal year 23, so I would recommend that we budget at the same levels. We did hit the 50,000 plus population, but we have not been notified of what our new percentages will be. So I would recommend that we budget the same until further notice. And of course, if the payment comes in higher, we can make adjustments at a later time, augment budgets and stuff of that sort. Other revenues that we receive, doing the forecast for fiscal year 23 and historical, we are seeing a little bit of growth in some of the other revenues that we receive, which are some of our licensing and permits, things of that sort. Not substantial, but every little bit helps, of course, with the general fund.
You'll see that in the details, that's for sure.
Yes. Next slide is our expenditures assumptions for fiscal year 24. And as I stated, I have built in any of the step increases, the medical increase, the PERS for fire and regular, the cost of living increases that have been negotiated through our CBAs. No changes to workman's compensation insurance because we are self-funded and we don't see any changes there. So we're keeping that at the current rates. We are not budgeting any overtime for any departments. And we are filling, of course, budgeting for all current and vacant positions that we anticipate, of course, departments filling in the near future. Next slide. For the services and supplies, what we have done in the previous years is utilize a historical average, as well as make any adjustments for cost increase of contracts. We have also applied a 6.5 CPI increase to any of our non-contractual services and supplies like fuel, cost of goods, things of those sorts, because due to inflation, of course, that's affecting all our departments. And of course, the general fund does contribute to the risk management, so there is a to the risk management fund, so there is a percentage that gets transferred to the risk management fund out of the general fund, as well as other funds do contribute to that fund as well.
How did we come about the 4.7?
That was voted by the BOCC 2 years ago.
We did that?
Yes, and
2020?
I'm sorry?
Is that in 2020 or 21?
21. Yes, 21. And
I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, it was in 21, and the levels have, we see that that is a good level for the risk management, is able to sustain and, of course, manage our policies as well as any of our claims. So we didn't see a need to make any adjustments, but of course, if we see that that fund is doing well, we can look at that percentage of course, at a different time. Transfers out of the general fund, if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Transfers out of the general fund, we have budgeted $100,000 from the general fund to the compensated absences. I was not able to budget anything for the stabilization fund just due to our ending fund balance. I had to pull back a little bit, so as you can see, there is nothing going in the fiscal year 24. That is, of course, up for discussion for the board to at your pleasure. $65,000 is being transferred to the health clinics. They have had been hit, of course, with the pandemic before, and they have not been able to bounce back. However, we are anticipating that this will be the last year that we would have to do a transfer over to that department.
How many health clinics are we supporting?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number for you, but I can definitely get that for you.
Appreciate it.
We also do a transfer from the general fund to the jail fund to support those operations, and that's at $5.5 million. We can go to the next slide. These are the additional transfers that happened. The net proceeds from general fund to the capital, that was the $55,000 that were anticipated. The contingency, due to the ending fund balance, last year we budgeted 3%. This year, to make the figures work, I had to lower that to 2%. So that would be $911,000 to set aside for contingency. Of course, if that does not get utilized throughout the fiscal year, that gets rolled over into the general fund or stays within the general fund.
What's the
Yes.
Generally, how fast do we use up contingency funds during the year?
It has varied for the last several years. This year, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but we had budgeted 1.1 million, I believe, and currently we were sitting at about 700,000. I do anticipate, because of some of the expenditures, or some of the increases, I should say, in the current fiscal year, that we'll need to utilize some of that contingency for example, buildings and grounds. Our electricity has, as you guys all know, has increased substantially. We have also brought in 2 new buildings that at the time of budgeting, we didn't know where they were going to land as far as electricity use. So that has been affected. Fuel costs have also, even though we applied the CPI increase last year, we did not see the reprieve. They have slowed down or at least maintained, but that is also an issue. So I do anticipate utilizing some of that contingency funding towards the last couple months.
I don't want you to guess, but I imagine it's going to be better than 50% of it.
Yes.
Okay.
I would imagine so. Okay. Some of the other transfers that happen are the debt service for the shelter bond and the Siemens bond. That is transferred from the general fund to our debt service fund, which is 10391. And total transfers, including net proceeds in capital, are $7,572,763. We can go to the next slide. This is our ending fund balance historically, and as I had mentioned before, of course, what our trend has been and where we're currently sitting, based on all the transfers that we make, as well as all the services and supplies and salaries and wages and benefits. Of course, we are unfortunately having to dip into some of those ending fund balances to continue operations. So as you can see, we have been dipping down in the last couple years. We could go to the next page.
And this is Liz, I would point out on that last slide, we did move ending fund balance, what we had left from last year, towards our civic center.
Yes,
so that was a significant reduction. We did the same thing for the town of the town of
Pahrump.
Town of Pahrump. So we did dip into those because I feel that is a sufficient amount of money to be sitting there. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And the board apparently agreed. Thanks.
The next slide, this is what I have, just a summary of what I presented before about the CPI increase. No new positions have been added with these numbers in the general fund. That, of course, is at the pleasure of the board. Keep in mind, if revenues do increase or anything that we can bring these budgets back, if we see a change within the fiscal year, we can make adjustments, augments to revenues. We can then augment to our expenditures. All increases have been included as agreed by our CVAs. And if we go to the next slide, these are your final figures. The beginning fund balance, as we anticipate fiscal year 23 to end with the $8.6 million, plus the revenues that we anticipate in fiscal year 24. Total resources, $58,974,846. And of course, all your expenditures, which are your salaries, wages, services, and supplies, as well as all your transfers that are going to be completed, plus the 2% contingency, that will leave us a ending fund balance of $5.9 million for where we anticipate fiscal year 24 to end. And that is if we use up the contingency as well. Any questions so far? Okay, if we go to the next slide. Now, these are some items that I wanted to bring up for consideration. We have been, or we were reached out by the Pahrump Museum, and they had requested, they're experiencing the same revenue issues with us because they're not anticipating any net proceeds, and net proceeds is part of what they use to operate, as well as their salaries and benefits, of course, have increased. And with the revenues that are being forecasted for them, unfortunately, they are not able to meet what their needs are. So they have come to us for an increase for their fiscal year 24 budget. Keep in mind, if this is something that the board wants to move forward with, this would come out of the general fund by way of transfer.
Chair?
So,
question.
Yes.
Did they give us?
Hold on.
Did they give
Go
us?
ahead, Commissioner Carbone.
Thank you, Chair. Did they give us any kind of real data that says why they need this additional 25?
Not that I received anything from the Pahrump Town Museum. Unfortunately, we cannot dictate to them what they can use those funds for. So they do receive a portion of the tax rate, and that is all that I'm budgeting, the percentage that we're calculating. And we don't know whether they can use it in whichever manner they feel, whether it's for salary, benefits, services, and supplies, however they choose to spend it. Most of their expenditure seems to come from their salaries and benefits, but other than that, I don't have any other.
Because I'm not getting a good feel, because I don't see anybody here to tell us, why I need additional. If everything is going per the process, why do we need 25 more grand? What's the need?
So originally, Commissioner, when I spoke with them, they indicated to me that I thought they indicated they needed 12,000. And I was not made aware that it was an ongoing need, but a one-time need. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. What I do know is I don't want to take any funds from the north, the museum up there, and provide it here. So if we're going to help the museum here, we need to figure out whether it be maybe from the room tax or from somewhere, but
we need to
gotta
know
get
why.
to the bottom of to why.
Yeah, we need the why.
Thank you.
That's some good history. Congratulations, Commissioner, knowing your history on those museums, because there's one tax rate, and then we divide it. Who gets what?
60-40, I believe.
Correct. That's the history on the museums. And so I think the museums need to find another income stream, and I don't know what that is. So we need some creative minds Oh, Director Allen is standing up. Director Allen would like to be heard.
Is he at the podium?
He is now, sir.
Go ahead, Director.
William Allen, ALLEN. I can't give you much in the why, but I can tell you as far as being resourceful, Marilyn is very resourceful. She has been getting extra funds from Home Depot. She's been going out in the community, soliciting people to try to help her. I would say that we've had struggles with maintenance items because she doesn't have enough budget.
Can I stop you there? If it's our building, why is that being used out of their fund?
It's still part of their budget, so we
Why
do it.
is that?
We do it anyways.
Tonopah, we do the same thing to Tonopah?
Yes,
So if they have an air conditioning go down, they gotta buy it?
it goes against their fund. Yes.
Huh. Is it that way with all other departments? Oh, because they've got their own tax district.
We'll put it there, even if they don't have the budget a lot of times, because it is a necessity for the building. It'll happen. It'll still happen. And then how it gets paid is just general fund from that point.
Well, in real estate, that's how leaseholds are. You know, you basically are leasing the building and you must take care of everything yourself as the tenant. So I just guess I didn't realize that Nye County was operating like that. Interesting.
So I would also remind maybe that they were hit pretty hard with the flood.
Flood?
Right, which affected them quite a bit.
Yep.
And in no way are these questions, meant derogatorily towards the museum board at all.
Absolutely
We
not.
just need to figure out what's going on and how to fix it.
And the key is we took
Move forward.
25 grand one time, like you said, 12 grand, or is it 25 grand all the time now, forever?
I don't know. And we're not gonna take it from the north.
No.
No.
Culture
That-
is very, very important, and museums are the baseline for that.
Yep.
So if we forget where we came from, unfortunately, we might repeat ourselves. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, if I
Director
may,
Allen, stepping
Commissioners,
back.
thank you. Thank you, Director. If I may, Commissioners. Yes, of course, all museums, these museums are so very important to our Nye County history and history in the state of Nevada. Pahrump, Tonopah, Sunnyside, Railroad Valley, Beatty, Amargosa, Gabbs, Round Mountain, Carvers, the entire current Duckwater, the entire county, Ione. There's a few residents still there, the Yumba tribe that lives just after Ione. It's so very important that we retain this history in these museums.
Chair?
My suggestion.
I'm sorry.
My sh-
I just want to
my-
make you aware that Director Allen's here when you're ready to hear him. Excuse me.
Again.
Sorry,
Director
Wagner.
Allen, to hear him again. Director Wagner, thank you. But I would suggest that not just the museums, but every department, because of our freeze and because we are, as the commission, being good stewards for the county, and with the help of our comptroller, with the insight and foresight of what could happen, is that every department must live within their means right now. And if this is a dire need and request, I believe that we should reevaluate this, we'll say in 6 months, and come back and see if we're in a healthier situation to assist the museum and anybody else. We're not trying to handcuff anybody. We are here to help. But of course, we cannot give what we don't have. Go ahead, Director Wagner. I see you patiently waiting.
I am, and I'm going to agree entirely with the historical value and how essential that is. But I think looking at a different funding source, possibly through room tax addition, it is a tourism asset, whether it's Tonopah or whether it's Pahrump or any other, part of the county. So rather than a general fund type contribution, I definitely think that's the better way to go. And I think your question about, is it a deficit this year or is it a deficit that they're gonna see from now on, which is obviously very possible because of the CIP increases and stuff we're seeing. So, I mean, that could very well be the thing, but if it is more of an emergency thing, I mean, wouldn't ARPA also be a good candidate for that? So
That's the reason why that's the reason why we're asking. If it's a one-time shot, that's one thing, but if it's forever, and again, that'll increase every year, but if it's something that needs to continue, yes, we need to understand how that works.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. A lot of questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions. How much further, if I may, Liz, our comptroller, how much further did you want to speak on this?
I just have I just have a couple more items to mention, and then we are done with this presentation, and of course, the board can move forward. If we can bring the slide back up.
And thank you, directors, for your input.
Okay, on this page 17, again, some of the budget considerations that that I put forward as far for the board to consider, of course, is the request from the Pahrump Museum, which we've discussed. At the last presentation, of course, I've made mention of our ending fund balance and maybe some of the programs or some of the direction to staff that can be provided that we can look at to help with our expenditures or cut some of our expenditures or seeing some of those savings, implement some of these things that we've done in the past as far as reviewing any vacant positions, bringing back the 90-day freeze if the board chooses to, as well as reviewing any upcoming projects or proposed projects, as well as contracts. I know that we do have some departments that are currently working on fee schedules that may help as well with the revenue side. Keep in mind, some of these revenues that we are looking at will affect the general fund, but some of these also will affect other funds as well. So not all the fee schedules will impact the general fund.
Comptroller, through the chair.
Yes.
You have current review of proposed projects. Are we going to get a copy of those projects so we can look at them as well?
We can definitely provide those.
Okay, thank you.
And then also another item that I put on here was the review of county services. If you look at the following page, we have the services that Nye County provides, the ones that are mandated or and non-mandated, either to review those also as at the pleasure of the board.
So this is the unfunded mandates that are...
Correct. The unfunded mandates are the ones that do not have the asterisk. If you look at that page, you'll notice the ones that have the star by there are the ones that are mandated by NRS and that we must provide. And then the next page are just all the requests that had previously been brought forward by all the departments, of course, for the board to consider how to move forward for fiscal 24.
So,
any questions?
I have a quick question.
Okay, excuse me, commissioners and comptroller, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Before we go into the questions, I've been informed that the AT&T system is back. And so what I'd like to do before we get into the weeds and asking questions and answers, if you don't mind, please, respectfully, let me call for a 10-minute break, if that's enough, Janie, to try to connect to the system and get people on the line so they are This is a very important agenda, and we apologize for the situation. It was out of our control, but now perhaps it's back into our control, and I want to get them on the line, as many people as possible. So let's take 10 minutes if that's enough time, Janie.
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. And will you need anybody to do anything up here in Tonopah?
No, sir. Thanks.
No. Thank you. So we'll be back at 11:35. Thank you. Janie, are you there?
Janie's not back.
Chair, this is Sam. We
Thank
are
you.
ready to resume.
Okay, thank you.
This is Donna, and I'm online.
Thank you, Donna. Welcome. Apologies for the situation.
No, that's all right.
We would have loved to have seen you in person, but the phone is just as good for you, and we appreciate you being here. Okay, it's 10:36. Let us resume the meeting. I'm sorry, 11:36. Thank you. Maybe I should put my glasses back on. Comptroller, are you there? I believe it was Commissioner Boskovich that asked a question, but I'm not sure as the camera was on the slide.
Yes, we're back. If you could repeat the question, I'm sorry.
It was regarding, back to the other slide, regarding impact fees and licensing fees and all of that, which Commissioner Carbone and I were just discussing, and we want to bring that forward.
Correct. We want to bring some resolutions forward to make some changes.
Get those fees up where they should be.
Okay.
Unfortunate thing is we got fireworks on the next agenda, so we may have to look at that and put some conditions out there.
Are you specifically talking about an agenda item that's fireworks or the meeting? Yeah.
Yes, again, so on page 17, like I said, at the pleasure of the board, these are just some ideas that I put forward for the board to consider, and if there's any directions to us staff that we need to implement for fiscal year 24, or if you choose, of course, to maybe review this in a couple months, up to the board.
My hope is that we review those ASAP, and I believe we're headed in that direction.
Um, 17? Oh, yes, and page 19 with the, all the positions, all the requests from the, from different departments.
And all of this was, of course, new stuff.
Correct. These are all new positions, not currently active. So this would be additional headcount to the individual departments.
So we, at the prior meeting, we went over all of these with each one of the department heads, and I believe we concluded there would be no new hires. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That's my comment, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I do know that we've had plenty of comments on it, but I do know if anybody's been watching out what's going on, the shelter has had a lot of problems because of people being sick. and it closes because one person creates a problem. So we need to really think about it. I'm not going to challenge anybody right this second, but we want to think about what we're going to do there. And I'm not talking about veterinarian. No. That's going to, if anything we do there is going to be, hopefully has to be a contract. But closing the shelter is not a good deal. So we got to think about that.
Let's find some grant funding.
Go, Stephanie.
Well, grant funding is good, but grant funding is not continuous. It'd be nice if we can use PSST money, but sorry, can't use that.
All right, Chair, I don't know, since you have taken a break, would you want to go to public comment since you have phones now? Or I think the commissioners are satisfied here.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Commissioners Cox, though, sir, sorry.
Well, let's Commissioner Cox,
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I know that you were disabled at home without the phone system, and to catch up, and perhaps if I go to public comment, they'll be asking some questions that will help you get your mindset. Unless you have questions now for the comptroller and us, we'll be happy to help clarify. And if not, I'll come back to you after the public comment. Your pleasure.
Go ahead and do public comment. That'll be fine.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, let me open this up for public comment at this time.
I have one coming up.
Thank you.
Hi, Tim Bohannon, BOHANNON. Reading through item 6 over the last weekend, a couple things that came to mind. I didn't see any provision for like a rainy day fund. I know Nevada has a rainy day fund that's currently roughly $340 million. What are we doing to have a rainy day fund for a set aside? Now, this is a tough year to ask that question. We're in negative balances coming through in the budgets. This is a better question for when we're flush. However, to start planning for it now, we should be thinking about that. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, 10% for savings, 10% for tithe, and then there you go from there. That's kind of the mindset. That's point 1. Point 2, I'm in favor of staffing holds on new positions. Now, I heard one mentioned today that was active in 2016, still on the books, let's go after it type thing, which is okay, but if we've been operating that long without it, do we really need it? And the answer could be yes, but that's something to think about. Putting the pressure on myself as well as regional planning. What are we doing for getting in new business here, and then taking that new business and turning it into revenue generation, not only for themselves, but also for the county? And then I like the idea of the grant funding, but in when times start going down, grant funding starts going away. So we'll have to deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Hollis in Pahrump, please.
Thank you. Mary Ann Hollis, Hollis. So am I to understand that this list on page 19, none of these requests will be met? That's true. So the 14 positions in the sheriff's department that need to be filled won't be? There's no incentive here to help it along. And I mean, it's as important for everyone's request, don't get me wrong. But in the past week, I've seen and been a part of slow response time by the sheriff's department because they're shorthanded. It's affecting the elderly those who have lived here and built this town, who don't have an advocate, because that's not going to happen, to help them through a process when their doors have been kicked in and their car keys are stolen and they're petrified and they have no advocate to help them through the system. That's just what I've experienced in the past week. So I think it's just not right to not help the sheriff's department and any first responder meet what they need for the baseline to respond. And secondly, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm happy to ask Ms. Strickland to stop the clock if you wanted to say something.
I actually didn't have it started.
Oh.
I missed it.
Rats. Okay.
I believe some of those are already budgeted for, those positions in fire safety and
You know, we really don't normally do this, but on the sheet, he's absolutely right. There's not 14 positions here, Ms. Hollis. There's an administrative tech, their overtime, and hiring incentives.
Yes, I understand that, but when the sheriff's department was giving their presentation, they said they were down 14.
That was because of hiring.
And I will always vote to help the sheriff's department and fire.
Okay, but it's a critical point now. It really is. And secondly, as to the grant funding, we all know, and it's been said many times, that the grant money is going to disappear ARPA within 2.5, 3 years. And what will we do then? And at one point, someone mentioned the Civic Center, and I'm wondering, I know that there's $2.4 million of ARPA funds designated for that. So I'm wondering where in the planning stage is that now? We're halfway through the ARPA year. I haven't seen any more bids coming for breaking ground or anything like that. So I'm assuming that $2.4 million will go away because it wasn't used. I don't know. I just need that clarification. And the room tax issue that was raised, one of the funding sources for that civic center and fairgrounds itself was room tax. So there's only so much room tax in Pahrump. And if it's possibly going to go somewhere else, that project, I'm not sure it's one of the pending projects that someone asked about, or it's already a done project. There's just a lot of questions, but I'm really, I guess my bottom line is, what can be done about this? What can be done to help meet these needs? Pahrump is growing. We're now over, 50,000 people, and it's growing. The infrastructure can't support it. All of these are tied into running.
Ms. Hollis, you have 42 seconds left.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. I'll be
That's
more
all right.
diligent.
I'm done. It's just like we need,
Thank you, Ms. Hollis.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Newman here in Tonopah, please.
Caleb Newman, Neumann. I'm kind of speak on Ms. Hollis. I kind of agree with her. The response time with the sheriff's office it was nearly an hour. An individual chased me around town at rates of 65 miles an hour on Main Street. And he said he was following me and going to the same place, not following me, but going to the same place. Anyway, I was recently had surgery, and this guy kept trying to, or actually attacked me twice because of the police did not respond to the first scene. And then anyway, I was driving around because the guy was following me around town. So the officer was responding from Round Mountain. So it took him about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get here. What I'm trying to say is that the sheriff's office needs to have sheriffs in town for incidents like this that happen, because I ended up in the hospital over the incident for 4 days. So, and I was denied medical attention from your ambulance service because they talked poorly about the hospitals in the area, and they said they would not give me a ride. So then they actually said that I denied medical attention. Was not true. I never denied medical attention. So anyway, I believe that more money should be appropriated to the sheriff's department for incidents like this. I was attacked, hospitalized, the situation was not handled properly. And so I'm just here bringing it to your attention.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Jim and Pahrump, please.
Eddie Jim, last name J-I-M. The museum was kind of devastated with flooding, as somebody brought up. You know, that takes a lot out of your budget when you have to take care of it, even if you get free help. You know, I'd like to see you guys kind of help this museum out. I think it was 3 buildings that were pretty well flooded. One was that schoolhouse that was, they claimed that was the first schoolhouse in Pahrump, but it's about the 6th or the 7th schoolhouse in Pahrump. I know my history from my family. And, you know, this board here they have down there at the museum is pretty good. They changed some things for me, which were untrue. So, yeah, I'd like to see you guys kind of help them out, too, because they were really hit hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody on the phone now, Sam?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah on the phone, I'll close public comment. And I will go to Commissioner Cox at this time.
Are you giving me public comment?
I'm finished with public comment, Commissioner, and the floor is yours.
Okay, I don't really have too much to say except that I'd like to address the issue of the Sheriff's Department a little bit, because the Sheriff's Department does get grants. They've operated on grants forever. You know, we give them their basic monies, but anything extra than that, they apply for them and they get them. They're not sitting there not needing anybody. And I'll tell you what, if we have a real emergency, we have a whole lot of officers you don't even know we have until they show up at the scene. I never saw so many officers in my life show up for a scene as what I did the night that there was a murder on Basin Street. And believe me, we have police. You don't have to worry about that. But if you have complaints about the sheriff's office and their response time and things, you need to go talk to the sheriff about that, because that's not really their budget. That's the way they run their department, and they need to run it a little differently. And I don't have problems giving the sheriff more money. I've always said I felt they were under budgeted, but at the same time, we're not going to do without service right now because of that. The more people that move in, the more money we can bring forward, the more officers they can hire. That's basically up. But I do want to say something about the library. I'm not real sure how that runs, but I keep having requests from the people that are running the Pahrump library that their budget is very limited and they've been trying to struggle to get by. And it would be nice if they could get at least something this year, if it's in the right place. If that fund, wherever we put that, is in the right place, has some money. If it doesn't, then they're going to need volunteers. Anybody out there in that audience want to volunteer? I mean, think about it. It's your library. It would be nice to get them a little help over there. A few hours every day, once, two or three times a week, would be great. And I know they would accept all the help they could get. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Chair, can I jump in here, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. The additional $25,000 for the Pahrump Museum, it's been stated several times that there had been buildings that were ruined, and we put insurance claims in on that. And those insurance claims went directly into wherever the fund that receives that insurance money. In the meantime, the museum went in, did the cleanup, got Home Depot to donate, did all the stuff they possibly could. And so when, I don't know if we can take this one item at a time, but I'd like to direct staff, Manager Sutton, to figure out where the funds should come from to compensate the Pahrump Museum, this $25,000, which I'm sure the insurance claim on that was even more than the $25,000. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Boskovich, did you have anything further?
No, I agree with Commissioner Strickland.
Thank you, Commissioner Carbone.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Commissioners. Again, I'd like to reiterate that it's not that we don't want to. It has to do with the means, the funds, the where, and there were a lot of whys and questions, unanswered questions. And it is my opinion, my professional opinion, that in regards to the museum, that we come back and reevaluate this in 6 months, at least 6 months, could be less, but up to 6 months. After we have these questions answered, we look into rooms tax. Yes, there's rooms tax that's distributed in different areas. Is that viable? Does that make sense for us to do that? Is there another stream that we can look at? Other funding that we can look at? There's a lot of measurement here to look at in regards to the museum, and to award $25,000 at this time, I don't believe would be prudent of us.
How do we deal with this question, DA? We have a agenda item that is written to discuss, review, and approve or amend the final budget. And in my heart, I'd like to approve the additional funding. I'd like to have a position freeze. And I'd like to direct staff, as has been discussed, to review the fee schedules. I'd like to do all of these things on this page. How do I make a motion to do that? Well, how do I do that? This would be our page 17.
You're going to have to articulate every bit of any amendments you want to make to any changes to the proposed budget. And I guess the other thing is, I strongly suggest if you're going to do this, you might want to do each individual amendment. Because if you do one motion and somebody doesn't agree with one part of it, they object to it, I think it'll be much more efficient to actually go through each individual amendment that you want to propose and vote on accepting that particular amendment.
What do you think, Chair? I think that that's good advice.
Yes, if your intention, Commissioner, is to make amendments, motions, and make amendments to each categorized item, I agree with the district attorney that if there was any opposition, the opposition, if it was in its entirety through one motion, could be shot down, which that's not your intention or our intention.
So it's one motion per item, is what you're saying?
Per item. Correct. I agree with the district attorney.
Yeah, and I would take your amendments first, make amendment to the proposed budget, and then ultimately then you would approve the final budget based upon the amendments that had previously been approved.
Smart. Okay, so let's start with the easy ones then. I'd like to make a motion for a position freeze for 90 days, realizing the accruals and savings.
Second.
Okay, now, district attorney, question, please.
Yes.
I've already opened public comment for number 6. With each motion, am I required to reopen public comment?
I think you're going to have to, with the way the structure is, unfortunately.
No, it's okay. It's not unfortunately. It's my question to ensure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so under the motion of a position freeze for 90 days, let me open this up for public comment at this time.
I would like to start.
I'm sorry, I didn't know who that was.
Does the chair recognize the DA for public comment?
Chair recognizes District Attorney Kunze.
I question the legitimacy of this provision. This is I think, basically I don't know, it's frustrating to suggest that we have positions that we might need to fill that we cannot fill. As an example, I'm trying to take one of my positions and create a victim advocate, which is essential for me to be able to do some of the services I need to do as district attorney. And to suggest that I can't do that for 90 days because I have a budget that you are approving that budget item, I don't understand what's being served by doing that. And I think to do a blanket prohibition on the filling of any vacant positions, I think does a disservice to the service that we do provide to our communities. So I'd throw it out there because I'm one that would be adversely affected by that provision.
I don't, did your,
oh, sorry.
Yep.
Do you have anything further?
No.
Kunze did not spell his name, Kuhn.
Okay, thank you. So commissioners, please, we are in public comment. District Attorney spoke as public
We have one
commenter.
coming up.
We have one.
Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
Yes, Chair. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I'm getting in a little bit late, but I agree with DA Kunze. There are positions that might be adversely affected, such as a police officer might be needed. There's a lot of departments that we rely on for emergencies that might need to fill a position. So this particular item amendment, I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, Mr. Bohannon in Pahrump, please.
Hi, Tim Bohannon, Bohannon. Going to talk to you as a CPA for a second and give you a case that I had, a situation where we had actually had to cut the budget, including salaries, 20%. I don't think we're at that case here yet. So, I caution us having to do that. I'm one who would be in favor of a freeze. However, there should be criteria for that freeze. If it's an essential service, then let's allow that to be hired. If it's not an essential service, and I think we can agree that fire and police are essential services, that in medical as well. Those are items that we definitely should be able to fill or backfill as necessary. Within budget, but as necessary. The other seems to be potentially discretionary. And for those cases, I'm absolutely in favor of a freeze. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no public comment on the phone, Tonopah and Pahrump will close public comment under the position freeze item.
Chair, this is Liz, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Liz.
I just wanted to mention that in the past, this item was brought forward back in, I believe, 2008, 2010, in that area. We also did experience this in 2012. But the way it was handled with those positions, this would be newly vacated positions. So if the position is currently vacant, of course, they've already most likely experienced that 90-day freeze or haven't filled it in that time. So this would be only affected if the position became vacant and would have the 90-day freeze. The other item that we implemented with this 90-day freeze is requesting a waiver. In the past, it was left up to the discretion of the county manager, which would review the position and, of course, the justification from the department, or those positions could be brought up to the board if the board chose to.
Just a little clarification to your story.
Thank you.
It actually happened through 2013, 2014, 15. And then we modified that process that once, and I think D.A. Coonsey, you were here when we did those things. And again, we if there was a position that was already out there, already funded, that's different than a new position, which is what's on our current chart. So if we're going to do a freeze, it would be on freezes that are brand new positions that haven't even been put out there yet. So that's would be what the freeze would be for. And I think that's where you guys were going.
Yes.
Because we have a
Okay,
whole
so
lot
we're
of
having a
positions that are out there.
misunderstanding here then, Chair, because the 90-day freeze that we had implemented before was today we need somebody, 90 days from now we're going to fill this, and this is the position that just recently got vacated. That's what our freeze was that worked to help our budget so we could move on with what we had and know what we had so we didn't get surprised. But it's not, has nothing to do with position requests.
So your motion doesn't have anything to do with
New
currently already budgeted positions?
It does. It does. It says that if we lost you tomorrow, 90 days from now, we can replace you. And we've done this under the administration for some time.
Absolutely.
It's been going on for a long time. So that when somebody leaves, we can actually look and say, you know, we may have to deal with that person because we are really in bad shape. But if you think you can convince the manager that that position's needed, please put in a waiver, and then he will authorize that.
Well,
Does that make sense?
it also got to the point where it had to come to the Board of County Commissioners because we actually were the ones that were approving the waiver.
That's right.
Okay, so I also heard that this was for a brand new position. We heard from our district attorney as a public commenter who's opposed to the freeze. He has on page 19, he has a victim advocate position. That would be a brand new position, a very important position. And so this would handcuff the district attorney's
It
office
wouldn't
for
touch
90
that.
days.
It would not touch that. That's a new position.
I heard,
request.
and that's what I heard was this would affect brand new position, Commissioner.
No, sir. Current positions. Do you want to, again, Liz, please?
Yes, if I may clarify that. District Attorney Coonsey stated that he would like to reclassify one of his current positions into that new position. So that would not affect him. If he has a current vacant position, he would be able to reclassify that. If that position, for example, became vacated in fiscal year 24, he would then have to wait the 90 days if one of his positions was vacated. But if he has a current vacant position that he wants to reclassify, that would not affect him.
He's budgeted, it's already available.
Understood.
All he's doing is moving a person, maybe, to that position.
Correct.
I think that's what his plan was, so.
Yeah, that's where we went when we were trying to figure out how to make this work, is we asked the different directors that came forward if they wouldn't take a current position and reclassify it to get what they need, because we can't find, let's see, we've been asked to figure out how to find $6 million. That's what page 19 says. We don't have an additional $6 million to satisfy everybody's needs. So that's why we're here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so I do have a motion and a second on the floor. We're clear on what the motion is.
And again, it's very specific in the wording, 90 days to realize
Okay.
the actual savings. So I think that's pretty clear.
And it does provide the
Okay.
opportunity for a waiver request.
Correct.
Okay.
You can add that to the motion if you want to.
I believe that's already in our policies and procedures in regards to this item. Am I correct, Liz?
Yes, we can definitely make it part. If it's not clear, we'll just make it.
Direction to staff.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote on position freeze item.
Aye.
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 Carbone, aye.
Jabbour's aye. Position freeze passes 5-0.
Thank you. I think we're being very fiscally responsible here.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. When you said easy ones, none
That
of
was
these are
not.
easy.
That was anything but. I have no need to address any other item here because I think the rest is going to be direction to staff. The only additional amendment I'd like to make is I'd like to amend the approval of the final budget with the museum fund of $25,000 being transferred out of a fund not identified yet, but shall be identified by Manager Sutton. How do you like that?
Is that your motion?
I think so. I'm looking at Sutton and he's going to help me decide how we do this.
No, I think I understand the motion, but I just, I received some conflicting direction as well, so I guess we'll see how the motion goes.
Okay, so once again, that's not my motion. Let me bring this back around. We had property damage that was done at the museum. The county collected an insurance claim on that property damage. In the meantime, those who are running the museum found the resources to fix stuff. And I would like to see them reimbursed by this $25,000 for the fact they got it done. And I don't think it should come out of insurance. I don't know that it should come out of that fund. And I need guidance, Liz.
So what I could suggest, because I need to do the research on that claim,
Yes.
what I would suggest is that I bring this item back because you can move forward with the budget as it is and bring the item back once the research has been done on funding, of course.
I really like that, Liz.
Because
I
like I
hope the
said,
other commissioners feel the same way. We need more information.
yes, and
That was the current direction that we gave to staff, so I think it's appropriate that we stay that way.
Okay.
thank you. And like I said, approving this budget will allow us to have a legal budget to present to DTAX. Nothing says that we can't make amendments at a later time. And that will allow us to look into those funds and what other revenue sources we can provide for the museum.
Because I'm thinking this is a repetitive fund, a repetitive money because of what they need for
True.
additional things that obviously they're not having today.
Right. But I'm not liking our lease tenancy the way it seems to be going as how we are operating as a county. I disagree that when there was a flood that happened, that the tenant was the one that was responsible for the repairs. And I just want to make that perfectly clear. That, I think, needs to be done differently for how we handle those who have an income stream that's not directly, it's
You
not
have to look at
related
the
to the
town.
general fund.
Look at the
It's-
town. The town has a policy. We've got to look at that
We need
policy.
to, there we go. That's what I'd
Look
like
at
to
that policy and see what we
see what we can do better. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioners. So are you withdrawing your motion, Commissioner?
I'm not really sure I got one off, but yeah, I'm withdrawing whatever it was I did.
Thank you. There was no second. I just wanted to be clear, and direction is to staff. And we, as the comptroller said, we will be able to bring this back at a later date.
Now I'll make a motion if I may, Chair. Oh, do we have to hear public comment or we already did that? No, we don't.
We already did public comment. There was no motion, formal motion.
You're right. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the Nye County final budget assumptions for fiscal year 2023, 2024. There is no amendment. The only thing that's there is the position freeze. That doesn't, does that,
You're
is
done?
that an amendment?
No.
No.
Thank you. I'm going to restate, excuse me, Chair. I'd like to restate to approve the Nye County final budget. Thank you.
Sorry, final budget assumptions, because you will
Well,
be voted on the,
Every one of them.
yes.
Correct, thank
All
you.
right, so
Second.
once again, man, I'm getting corrections from staff. This is getting bad.
Come on.
All right, I'll restate. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Nye County final budget assumptions for fiscal year 2023, 2024.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion from any of the commissioner? Commissioner Cox?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. Commissioner Boskovich?
No, thanks, nothing.
Thank you. Commissioner Carbone?
Just like to have the animal shelter relooked at some point in time.
Thank you. Commissioner Strickland?
Good, thank you.
Thank you, and I'm good at this time. If there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote. For number 6, please.
Aye.
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 Jabbour's aye.
Everybody's aye.
Chair, I'd like to make a request for lunch.
Thank you. Number 6 passes 5-0. It's a little early, Commissioner.
Oh,
to go
we
to lunch.
could take it early and come back. We're going to have to come back anyway.
Didn't we used to always do it from noon to 1:30? If I remember right. I don't know how it got twisted, but it used to be on time.
Well, at least it used to go around try to get around the normal break hour for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners,
I
if
hate to leave them with
this
that one.
works for you, Commissioners, if this works for you, please, and the staff, I'd like to get a few more items knocked out before we go to lunch. Number 7, please, Manager.
Item 7, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, continued public hearing, discussion, and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Nye County.
Can I make a request to take on another one if you'd like to knock something out, sir? This one's a monster. I've got a lot of highlights in this one. Just a request.
Which item is it, please, Commissioner Strickland?
Beatty's, Gabb's, Manhattan. They'd go fast.
Got it, understood. Okay, Comptroller and Manager, are you okay if I close number 7?
I'm good with closing 7.
I am as well.
Thank you. Number 7 is now closed. Let's move on to number 9, please.
Item 9, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, continued public hearing, discussion, and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Town of Beatty.
Liz Jordan, Nye County Finance, and I just wanted to let the board know that I did attend the Beatty Town Board meeting where the advisory board reviewed this the budget, and it passed with no questions.
That's always a good recommendation when the board gets to hear it. Cool.
Thank you. Do we have Chair Erica Gerling on the phone?
Well, I remember the phones were down, so.
No, Chair.
No. Okay, thank you. Yes, Commissioner, but Janie was able to get us back on. She worked her magic.
But they may not know that.
Chair, I don't have any questions in regards to this budgetaries.
It looks like it's pretty complete. The Beatty sewer and water's in
Yes.
here. Everything looks pretty much up to speed.
Okay, we heard from the comptroller.
Public comment.
Entertaining a motion, but I can't open it up for public comment.
We do need to have a public hearing opening, please, sir.
Let me open this up for public comment at this time. Number 9, Beatty. Is there anybody on the phone? Please, Sam.
No, Chair.
Is there anybody in Pahrump? Okay, hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah, and on the phone, I will close public comment.
Chair, motion to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 for the town of Beatty.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote, please.
Aye.
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 Carbone, aye.
Jabbour's aye. Number 9, Beatty passes 5-0. Number 10, please, manager.
Item 10, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, continued public hearing, discussion and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Town of Gabbs.
Again, for the record, Liz Jordan, Nye County Finance. And I did not get a chance to present this to the Town of Gabbs Advisory Board. However, I was not able to get on their agenda in time. However, I will be presenting it afterwards. Nothing substantial changed from fiscal year 23 to 24. All their positions were able to be budgeted as is, and no additional request. As well, they do have, of course, a small effect on the net proceed, but other than that, very similar to fiscal year 23.
They have the same problem we do. That proceeds down. So with that, go to public comment, and then we can make a motion.
Okay, let me open this up for public comment.
I have no one
Is
here.
there anybody on the phone, please, Sam? Thank you, Commissioner.
No, Chair.
Okay, hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah, and on the phone, I will close public comment.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 for the town of Gabbs.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion from the commission, I'll call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye. Number 10 passes 5-0 for Gabbs. Number 11, please, manager.
Item 11, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, continued public hearing, discussion and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Town of Manhattan.
Liz Jordan,
Go
for
ahead,
the record.
Comptroller.
Yes. Liz Jordan, for the record. Same with Manhattan. No substantial changes to their budget. It is a very small budget, but at least not big impacts there. So at the pleasure of the board.
Didn't see anything big. I mean, their water activity is pretty small. Knowing that we did a lot of work out there on their water system. Anybody else?
Nothing.
It's up to you, Chair.
Okay, let me open this up for public comment. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam? Public comment for number 11, Manhattan.
No, Chair.
Thank you.
Nothing here, Chair.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah, and on the phone, we'll close public comment.
Chair, make a motion to adopt
the final budget for the 2023 to 2024 Town of Manhattan.
Second.
So,
You wanted to get them done, so get them done.
great, so I have a motion and 2 seconds on the floor. If there's no further discussion from the commission, I'll call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Everybody aye.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye. Manhattan number 11 passes 5-0. Is the clerk in the room? County clerk in the room?
Yeah, let's wake him up, don't worry.
Yes, I'm. Yeah, okay, let's see. I think we can get this one knocked out. Number 13, please, manager.
Item 13 for possible action pursuant to NRS 293.3871, canvass of the returns of the special election for the Beatty Water and Sanitation District Trustees held on May 23rd, 2023.
Mark Kampf, Nye County Clerk, KAMPF. In front of you, you have some documents. One of the things I'd like to focus your attention on first is the turnout report, which basically shows who voted and how they voted. We had early in-person voting at the Tonopah offices, which we were required to have a central voting place, and we had no people vote in the Tonopah office. We did have an early voting day that was not required by law, but I felt it was important to do, to have on a Saturday for voters in Beatty. And we had 4 hours of voting set up on the 13th, and 2 people showed up on that day. We sent out mail ballots, and to save resources on this, we printed our own ballots, we did our own sample ballots, and used existing envelopes to do this. And we had 66 mail ballots turn out. Of those, 19 Democrat, 31 Republican, 9 other, and 7 partisans. On Election Day on the 23rd, we had the polls open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m., just as in a general election. We had 29 people show up, 1 Democrat, 20 Republicans, 4 other, and 4 nonpartisans, for a total of 97 people who voted in this election. Albert Varelli had the most votes with 63 votes, and he won the 4-year term. And Derek Stonebarger next with 59 votes, winning the 2-year term. And that is the results of that election. During manager's comments, I will talk about why we got here and where we're going from here as a result of the having to do this election.
I was going to ask, why did we have to do this special election, but I guess you'll do that later?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, if you don't mind, clerk, it is in the verbiage under a special election for the Beatty Water and Sanitation. Do you mind
you go right
expounding
ahead
on why we're here?
Okay. The reason we are here is that there were voters who were missed from the Beatty Water and Sanitation District sub-precinct within Beatty 1.02. There are literally 3 precincts within Beatty. 1, the town of Beatty. 2, the General Improvement District, and the Beatty Water and Sanitation District. If you're part of the town of Beatty, you could vote in either of those, but not necessarily, because you may not be a beneficiary or part of the Water and Sanitation District. When the redistricting occurred last year, there were only 89 voters who had been assigned to the Beatty Water and Sanitation District. This was not a problem in the past because there was never sufficient candidates coming forward to have an election. When the candidates came forward to have an election, we identified by a voter letting us know that they did not receive their ballot. It turns out that when the precincts were reported to the Secretary of State in March, the Beatty Water and Sanitation District voters were not in the appropriate sub-precinct. And so I assumed, as taking over as the clerk, that the precincts were correct. Needless to say, Mr. Varelli, who lost this election in the first vote, filed a complaint with the district court on the 18th of November And as a result of that case, we were directed by the district court to have an election for the 3 candidates who were affected by the 49 voters who were not included in the numbers ultimately. While we did identify voters prior to the election, we did not identify all of them. And that is my responsibility for not double checking the fix from what we inherited. So as a result now, the top 2 winners from the general election were not affected by the 49 votes. They would have won one way or the other. And so we were directed to put those candidates into their position. And then as part of that order from the court, 5th District Court, we held this special election for the remaining 3 candidates. We were able to get that done in a very short period of time after that. I can go through the timeline later with that and give you a little bit more insight as to what impact this has on the future of this, because that's really not part of this. Does that satisfy your questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Clerk. I also want to thank you and your staff. I know that this was extra time, money, efforts, set up, back and forth. I know you were up here back and forth, driving back and forth from Beatty to Tonopah to Pahrump to ensure that everything was done correctly. And we appreciate you and your staff's efforts and the voters coming out and voting. And now the Beatty Water and Sanitation District can fulfill their obligation and do the right thing for the people of Beatty. I would also suggest, sir, if it hasn't already been done, is because it was ordered by the 5th Judicial Court, is to submit your findings to the 5th Judicial Court as a formal submittal.
That is a requirement of the court order, and I plan on doing that as soon as you certify the canvass of these votes. I would like to make another comment as a result of this experience. I was able to start the election process from the very beginning and was involved in every single step along the way. So even though it was painful, it was a great learning experience for me as a new clerk who was able to do the process from setting up the machines, opening the polls, working the polls. So it was a very good experience for me, even though it was a big headache.
He learned about batteries and he learned about all kinds of neat things.
Yes, about why the machines don't always work.
Thank you, Clerk. Let me open this up for public comment at this time. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah. And on the phone, I will close public comment.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to certify the canvassing of the special election for the Beatty Water and Sanitation District.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have a motion and a second on the floor. There's no further discussion from the Commission. I will call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Ronnie, aye.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye. Number 13 passes 5-0. It is now 12:32. I'd like to call for lunch to satisfy Commissioner Strickland's request.
Thank you, sir.
I could hear your stomach growling over the microphone. Let's be back here at 1:30. 1:30 would be too short. 2 o'clock. Is 2 o'clock okay?
Sure.
Okay, well, we will return at 2 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Microphones, please.
Welcome to Open Voice Audio Services. Please enter your conference room number followed by the pound or hash sign. Conference room number accepted. If you are the organizer, press the star key now. Otherwise, please enter your PIN followed by the pound. For a menu of available commands, press star 1. There is one other caller on the call. All participants are muted and may not unmute themselves. Hand raising is on.
Am I on? Janie, am I on?
You are.
Thank you. Can we see if Commissioner Cox is on the line, please?
Janie's on it.
Chair has not, sorry, Chair, Commissioner Cox has not joined us yet.
Okay. Thank you. I'm surprised she was the first one back at the last meeting.
Liz, is it possible for us to hear item 14 without having all the commissioners present? Is that allowable?
Yes, we can definitely do so. We just need a majority of the board.
Okay, so we're okay, because I had thought we all had to be present for the good.
No.
Majority only. Thank you.
You're good.
It is 2:00. Let's reopen the Nye County Board of Commissioners meeting. And we will start with number 14. Manager, please.
Item 14 for possible action, discussion and deliberation regarding the corrective action letter for the annual audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 to be submitted to the Nevada Department of Taxation.
Well, this certainly looks better than it's looked in a long time, Liz. At least
Yes.
from when I've been sitting here. Those are doable.
Yes, Elizabeth Jordan for the record. Yes, I was very pleased to prepare this letter because it is like no other in the past with one small finding. And of course, this is regarding the issues that we had with the treasurer's office at the beginning of the fiscal year that unfortunately carried over for us closing fiscal 22. Of course, those have been rectified, and having our treasurer powers in place have definitely, of course, helped tremendously. And then the other item was the deficit cash for the Pahrump Museum. And of course, we discussed that item at length previously, but that was another portion of the findings in our fiscal 22 audit. Any questions from the board?
Not for me, Chair.
You get some public comment, maybe we can make a motion.
Okay, if the commissioners don't have anything to say at this time, let me open it up for public comment. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
Yes, Chair. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hi, this is Tim Bohannon, Bohannon. You know, one of the keys I see of the items that were listed is we were aware of every single one of them and the potential impacts and already dealing with it before the audit year was over. Even though it lagged into the next fiscal year, it was being dealt with. And I thought that was a strong positive. There's no showstoppers from what I saw reading through the audit material. But, you know, the good thing is, and the positive thing is that the county, the BOCC, and staff were all on top of this, and elected officials, newly elected officials as well. as well as those who served in the interim. So definitely on top of it, trying to manage it. Yeah, there was a little bit of linger, but it was able to be dealt with. And the management comments were able to be very clear of, hey, we're already dealing with it, and we resolved the issue. So all quite positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in Pahrump for public comment?
No, sir.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah, and on the phone, I'll close public comment. And I would like to say before, Commissioner, you make your motion, I agree with the caller and would like to extend further kudos to the interim treasurer, to our new treasurer, to the finance office, the treasurer's office, all of the staff that assisted in getting us off of the fiscal watch and then to where we are now, and looking good. We just need to get in a healthier financial position, and we're on our way to make greater things happen. But in the meantime, thank you all who assisted in bringing us to this point. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you. With that, I would make a motion to submit the June 30th, 2022 corrective action letter to DTAX.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. There's no further discussion from the commission. I will call for the vote, please.
Everybody aye.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye.
Aye.
And, I heard an additional aye. Was that Commissioner Cox?
It better be.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
And I didn't throw my voice either.
I wanted to make sure.
They had me muted.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Commissioner Cox is on the phone, and number 14 passes 5-0. Let's go back to number 7, please, Manager.
Item 7, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action. Continued public hearing, discussion, and deliberation to adopt, amend, or adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Nye County.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Liz Jordan for the record. In front of you, you have the fiscal 24 fiscal year budget. As we've gone through on the previous presentation, the fiscal year 24 general fund was approved or was prepared as the assumptions were approved by the board. As you know, most of our issues, of course, are with the obligations that we have versus our revenue. Most of the other Nye County funds, there are no issues with the exception of course, the museum that we've discussed. Also, I wanted to point out that the risk management fund includes the position that was previously approved during the workshop, so that is included in here. If the board doesn't have any questions, or I'll open up for questions, but we would have to make an amendment to this budget, just including the position that was approved for Health and Human Services. But that's the only other change.
So that should be stated within the...
Correct.
Thanks.
Thank you. I know, Commissioner Strickland, you have some questions, so please.
Oh, were you going to go through this in a step-by-step, or would you like to?
I wasn't, because it is a lengthy document.
No doubt.
But I will.
No.
You can definitely let me know which budgets or which pages of our concerns, and I can address them.
All right, let me get to it. Page 15 at the top.
Yes.
I've got gaming licenses were 78,881 for actuals prior year, and this year it's $7,507. Is that a?
No, that is correct. As of the time that I prepared the budget for the current year, for fiscal year 23, we are still waiting to receive some of the revenues. However, I did not want to overstate. Some of those revenues are received towards the end of the fiscal year for gaming licenses.
That's right.
So I didn't want to overstate that portion of it. But as you can see, for fiscal year 24, I leveled it out to a historical average. Fiscal year 22, that was a little bit high. Not really sure why.
Can I expound with the, Samantha Tackett, you're in charge of these licenses. I see here that the actual prior year was 78,881, and we're projecting our tentative at 48,650. Would there be any reason why we would be such a difference? Are we getting less gaming, or?
Are these all for privilege licensing, or does it include other licensing?
Just the privilege license.
Just privilege. Well, our machine counts for gaming does fluctuate, and also the amount of licenses that we have each year fluctuates with closures and openings and things like that.
I'm going to be anxious to see how we do in 6 months and see if maybe it catches up, because that's significant.
You gotta remember, what Sam's saying is, we may lose a certain amount of machines, okay, which changes, what the income is gonna be, so on and so forth. So it may not be the same every year. It's not like
Coming and
we
going,
have
coming and going.
200 on a constant basis.
Right.
It may be 150, maybe 310, it's always jumping around, so.
Well, that's the same thing I have with the next item that I would ask about, which is the brothel worker cards. The actuals were 18,000 and the estimated is 94, and we're going to come in with a tentative 56. So I'm just confused by these numbers.
So the brothels, I can give you a little bit of more history on that one. The brothels, we pulled back, I don't know if you recall, during COVID, we had put a stop in not collecting some of those revenues, and it picked up back up and halfway through fiscal year 22. So that's why only partially you can see on fiscal year 22 was 18.1. Fiscal year 23, you can tell we're slated to receive well over that. So business has picked up.
There you go.
As well as, of course, I'm not going to overestimate for fiscal 24, but that was the history with that one.
It's interesting. As stated before, we have ebbs and flows, don't we? On page 16, item federal government contractual revenues, we finished our year in 22 with 247,000. We're estimating at 150. Is there a reason why we lost $100,000 right there?
Well, this is a one of the, for the test site, we do have officers that respond out there.
Well, that's a different item, isn't that? Isn't that DOE reimbursement?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, please.
The federal government contractual revenue, that would be the contract that we have for the up in Tonopah, where we have, I'm sorry, it escapes me at the moment, but we do have a contract with them as far as using, I believe it's the, I'll have to get you more information.
Well, no,
on
it's
that.
just,
but
I'm trying to figure out where the numbers are going. And you know what I want to say to staff and to all of us present, I normally would have been able to go over this with you earlier in the week, but we didn't have that opportunity. And you could have, that's what I am going to hope that we get to do moving forward like we've done in the past. I ask all these silly questions before the meeting. And so if I see something so anyway, that's why we're here.
Yep, no problem. And I can definitely, I can picture the contract. Unfortunately, I escapes the name of it at the moment. But yeah, and I can give you additional information on that one.
All right. On page 17, We have no rents in the prior year. We might have waived rents because of COVID, who knows? And then our ending was 6,100. And then our donations have been consistent, but there's nothing for our actuals for ending 2022. For rents and donations.
Correct. That was our audited figures, and there was nothing collected, at least not for in these categories. We do collect a few rentals. However, some of the rent revenue goes into the building, the 10291 fund. So this is different types of revenues.
And it all depends on which buildings we're talking about,
Correct.
because they're town versus county.
Correct.
So we got to make sure that we understand which ones we're talking about.
Correct. And some of the rent revenues do go to the general fund. Not many of them. A lot of them go to the building fund.
Yes.
Building owned funds, excuse me.
I really like on sales and surplus properties, that 2.66 million reflects our sale of PMC. I thought y'all loved to hear that. That was a good one. On page 18, I'm confused how services and supplies are so different for let's pick on administration. Administration here has a service and supply line item of $223,000, and the salaries and wages of like $670. And you look down at planning, and they've got a like in kind salaries and wages of $625, but their service and supplies are only $49,000. How come some service and supplies are such a big number when others are not?
Some of those could be contractual. In the services and supplies,
we have grant against administration.
Correct. Correct.
Different contracts
for different departments.
Okay. Yeah, I really understand a high service and supply when it comes to like the sheriff's office. They're buying fuel, they're going crazy, right?
Right.
But
again, you got the different situations for each one too. You got contracts that start front loaded and contracts that don't until the end.
That's correct. Yeah.
And where it gets caught, it might get caught in the next year. It may not be where you think it's going to happen at.
And some of course, it depends on the type of operations that department operates. Buildings and grounds, of course, their budget is going to be a lot higher because they do pay out of their services and supplies. They do pay all of the utilities for the Nye County buildings versus.
Who pays all that?
Buildings and grounds out of their budget.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's go to the next page. On page 19, we've got a line item that's near the bottom that's service and supplies. So what the heck is $1.1 million in service and supplies? Who's doing that? Why is that a standalone item under miscellaneous overhead?
Those are different contracts that we have under the miscellaneous overhead. That includes some of our mandates.
Why wouldn't we plug in, why don't we have a place to plug in like the electric bill for the whole county and the water bill for the whole county? And should we be thinking like that?
Well, we do operate that, like I said, under the buildings and grounds because our buildings and grounds director would be more familiar with each individual building. So they would review those expenditures when the bills come in and better have an understanding of why that bill might be higher.
Right.
Or what needs to happen within that building. The miscellaneous overhead services and supplies expenditures there, they do in that miscellaneous overhead, we operate a lot of the expenditures that are mandated.
Of course they are unfunded, right?
Unfunded mandates. A lot of those are paid out of that.
On that one sheet that's in our package, a lot of those items that are on that sheet are right there.
All right, we're almost done. Item 20, or page 21, once again, service and supplies. Judicial's got $978,000 in service and supplies?
I'm sorry, let me get to that page.
Of course, 21.
Page 21.
Yep, near the bottom, other judicial.
That is the contracts with the public defenders.
Ah, very good. Okay. Animal shelter, I took a hard look on 23. It's got expenditures of 205, not bad. Projected at 242, not bad. Page 25. I don't know why. On page 25, there's a $5.5 million. We had our actuals for 22 at 40. Then we had our estimates at 43, and then we jumped up to tentative approval of 45. So we have gone up $5,000 this year, is what you're telling me. From 40 to 45 is what we're projecting.
For the entire services and supplies, salaries, and wages. Keep in mind. All functions, all departments, and that's where you see the majority of the impact with the.
That's huge.
That's big. With the contractual increases, as well as our PERS increases, insurance, all those, of course, also the transfers to risk management.
I thank you. I forgot the water. So every year it keeps going higher and higher and higher. We didn't hire anybody, and we had, $6 million in requests, and so it's a shame.
Between fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23, keep in mind in fiscal year 23, we did approve several positions.
We did, so we're realizing those again. Grant funds, halfway down under operating transfers. So evidently we've transferred all of our money out of grants funds that have been moved into capital or wherever they needed to be. Because I can't imagine we have no grants funds.
These are and I should have not included that line item, but during
you did it just to confuse me.
I did. I tried to close off any zero line items, but this line came to be when we had the CARES funds because they were receipted into the general, and then we had to move it into the grants fund itself to operate. So that's where that line came.
This was the
at that point.
The additional funds after we took care of everything. We said that we're going to move these funds into our budget line, but we said the best place to put it would be in the grant fund.
Yes.
So all the stuff that we did.
It's a receivable fund only, and then gets administered.
And it was receipted into the general fund. Then we had to transfer it over, and the only way to transfer it is, of course, create a line so we can break it out and distinguish which is the grant amount funding that was to move to the actual grant fund.
Okay, 28, encroachment permits. I cannot believe that we sold $343,000 in encroachment permits at $75 each. Is that serious? Where is Public Works? He's on vacation. Wow. Wow. Okay. Beginning fund balance on the bottom for.
Are you concerned that we?
I think it's magnificent, but I don't know how many driveways that is. That's just insane. Maybe it's not at $75 each. Maybe encroachment permits have a gradient system I'm not aware of when it's commercial or something. I don't know. Anyway, just seems like a lot of driveways. Beginning fund balance at the bottom for actuals at 7.1. And then estimated current is 6.9, but tentative approval is only 3.4. How come?
In fiscal year 23, Public Works has purchased a lot of capital equipment.
Right.
So, of course, you see that reflected. They've unfortunately had not in previous years purchased equipment, so you could see that obviously now reflected on their ending fund balance.
Well, and he had all that money that was
that has been
stockpiled.
Yeah, that it's been sitting, and now obviously with our new director, sorry, with our new director, things are moving along.
I'm sorry, guys, but explanations do me really good. 29, so we had actuals in 22 of 8.9 and then ending at 16, but we're going to go to 12. So we're being really conservative there too with Public Works.
Well, because he does have in fiscal 23 that he's purchasing a lot of that capital, so that's where the expenditures live. And in fiscal year 24, because he has spent several of those millions in 23, will now be reducing his expenditures.
I think he had like $15 million in slush sitting around. It was crazy. Ending fund balance on page 31 was actuals was 1 million, and it went down for this year to 296.
Yes, so this funding gets transferred to the road fund.
Moved it out.
So we moved it into the road fund.
It'd be the same thing probably for ending fund balance on 32. That would make sense.
Yes.
Ay, 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 ay. This one's strange. 35, under public safety, our actuals were $124. And then our current is $20,500. Do we really have public safety?
Well, this is for the 911 system, and IT has a position that is partially funded out of the 911 fund, which is the 10213, and that operates our emergency infrastructure.
Can you believe how much she knows about all this stuff? This is nuts. Okay. And
this is what keeps me up at night.
You definitely have got this going on. I'm happy with that because of that. Museum for Tonopah is $57,000. Can you remember actuals? 51 estimated, and you got them all the way down to 42. I'm not sure they can operate on that, can they?
This is because of the reduction in their revenue. If you notice on the revenue side on the top of that page, net proceeds. Net proceeds.
Yeah, here we go again.
Exactly.
Get us all.
So then again, this fund has to live within those revenues that we're receiving.
All right, guys, I think that's it. I'd like page 47. We get a lot of questions over our ICE contract. It shows here that we brought in total revenue of 2.6. Is that right? Is that what you would agree with?
So on fiscal year 22 in the column 1, you'll notice the $2.4 million, well, 2.5, and that is what the ICE contract generates.
That sounds good. I really think that's it.
What was the question on that?
My question, no question. I was just like, people ask us about the ICE contract.
Oh, okay.
And I just wanted them to hear it, that it's generating $2.6 million, which is a lot of money.
Well, it's actually under what I think the projection was supposed to be.
What did they do? Do you recall? I don't remember.
It is under, I don't have the figures in front of me, but that's one of the reasons why there is a subsidy from the general fund.
It's over $1.5 million, I believe, under. Because we are subsidizing quite a bit.
That's correct.
Well, Chair, I believe that our current comptroller has done a wonderful job of presenting this document to us, even under the scrutiny in front of everybody getting questioned, which is not how I would prefer to have done it. So thank you very much, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the great questions. I know that I believe you saved a lot of time by asking those questions because we don't have to be redundant in touching on some of those. Commissioner Cox, do you have anything for our comptroller?
No. Commissioner Strickland has already asked about two of the questions that I was concerned with, so I have my answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Boskovich.
I don't. I learned an awful lot listening to Commissioner Strickland. And it is a great report.
Yes. Yes, Commissioner Carbone, sir.
I had my questions and I had them answered yesterday.
That's because you didn't get your backup at 4 o'clock when I forgot to come back here to get my backup. That's why I wasn't able to meet with staff. Thank you.
No, I do appreciate the questions because it helps keep me on my toes for sure. So, and
I don't think you're done. You haven't heard from Commissioner Jabbour yet.
No, definitely. I did have a lengthy conversation with him yesterday.
Yes, but don't tell them what we talked about, please, Comptroller. No, my questions too were answered throughout so far, and I certainly appreciate your diligent efforts. Liz, you've done a terrific job as the interim and prior. You know, it didn't just happen, right? And so please stay awake, continue to stay awake at night, staying on top of these numbers for us here at Nye County. So at this time, please let me open this up for public comment. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair. And we don't have
Thank
anybody
you.
here in chambers, Chair.
Thank you. Well, you do. You have Ms. Clark, but she doesn't wish to speak at this time. Hello, Ms. Clark. Okay, hearing and seeing no public comment in Tonopah, Pahrump, and on the phone, I'll close public comment. There's no further discussion. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
Motion to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023-24 for Nye County.
Second.
I'm sorry, let me interject again. If we can amend that motion to include.
Right, and I got my note right here, to include the approved position for Health and Human Services for their senior position. I wrote the note and I didn't even read it.
Thank you.
Modified second. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, aye.
Where's aye?
Aye.
Number 7 passes 5-0. Oof, good job, Elizabeth. You could take a breather.
Not yet.
Okay, now that you've taken your deep breath, Manager Sutton, number 8, please.
Item 8, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action. Continued public hearing, discussion, and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Town of Pahrump.
Chair, I just have a few questions. No, kidding. I don't have anything.
I was gearing up for it.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Jordan for the record, and I just wanted to mention to the board that this budget includes the previously approved positions for Town of Pahrump.
Yeah, their budget actually had enough money to pick them up and still have a pretty good size,
Ending fund
balance.
I don't have any questions, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Cox, did you have any questions for the comptroller, please?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Boskovich?
I have no questions, Chair, thanks.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Carbone?
I really don't have any questions, but I know I'm going to be sitting down with the comptroller. I'm going to show her what the zombie lots cause us as far as revenue loss. So we'll have that discussion.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And I'm good at this time. Let me open this up for public comment at this time. Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
Yes, Chair. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Tim Bohannon, BOHA, and then for clarity, I had tried to get on item 7. Which item are we going over at this particular time?
This is, we are on number 8, Tim. Number 8.
Pass for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Unincorporated Town of Pahrump, just so everybody knows.
Yes, we are sitting as the governing board of the unincorporated Town of Pahrump at this time. Okay. Is there anybody else on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
Okay. Is there anybody in Pahrump, commissioners?
Nobody.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Here, that's okay. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah on the phone. I'll close public comment. I will entertain a motion for number 8, please.
Chair, I'd like to adopt the final budget for the fiscal year 2023-24 for the town of Pahrump.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion from the commission, I will call for the vote, please.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye.
Aye.
Carbone, aye.
Number 8 passes 5-0. Number 12, please, manager.
Item 12, 10 a.m. timed item for possible action, continued public hearing, discussion, and deliberation to adopt or amend and adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 for Town of Pahrump Pool District.
Elizabeth Jordan for the record again. There is no substantial changes with the Pahrump pool. We don't anticipate any big changes at all throughout the year as well. The pool just opened this past weekend, so I know everybody's pretty excited to have it back.
At least maybe we'll have some more folks showing up to the pool. I mean, it's been closed for so long. And looks like it's a pretty healthy budget, by the way.
Yes, they are operating very good.
Does that mean we get to go build another pool?
Not quite.
It would be nice if we had a real Olympic-sized pool, you're right.
Covered?
So someday.
Indoor?
All we need are smaller swimmers.
At Kellogg Park?
Yeah. It looks like we have no comments, Chair.
Okay, I will still have to open this up for public comment.
Correct.
Is there anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
No. Hearing and seeing no public comment in Pahrump, Tonopah, and on the phone, I'll close public comment. Entertain a motion, please.
You may, what do you want? Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2023-24 for the town of Pahrump Pool District.
Second.
Thank you, commissioners. I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion from the commission, I'll call for the vote, please.
Carbone, aye.
Aye.
Jabbour's aye.
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 Number 12 passes 5-0. Let me just scan to make sure. I believe.
Chair, I think we can reassure you we're closing our books. You've got this.
Yes, we've covered everything, and now I will open general public comment.
Item 17, general public comment, up to 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on the matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item.
Thank you, manager. Is there any public comment on the phone, please, Sam?
We don't have any in Pahrump.
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hi, this is Tim Bohannon, Bohannon. Reporting that we have our first ever state baseball title for Pahrump Valley High School boys baseball. So I think that's an incredible feat. They won 3-0 in the championship game up in Virgin Valley High School, and really, they had against South Tahoe. The benefit was they had pitching depth that allowed them to do well and in timely hitting. So I'd like to congratulate our boys high school, Pahrump Valley High School, 3A state champions. That's all.
Thank you. That was very important. And the word should get out that it was mentioned during the BOCC meeting, and we're very proud of our Pahrump Valley High School teams, plural, for everything that they accomplished throughout the year, especially when they represent Nye County in these finals. So thank you, Tim, for bringing that to everybody's attention. Is there anybody else on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
No. Okay, hearing and seeing no other public comment in Tonopah, Pahrump, and on the phone, I'll close public comment and move on to number 18, please.
Item 18, Commissioner Manager's comments. This item limited to announcements or topics and issues proposed for future workshops and agendas.
Thank you. I'd like to start with Commissioner Cox, please.
Yes, I'd just like to comment about some things I saw on Facebook this last week in regards to us being a part-time job. I want the public to know that we're not part-time. I don't know where that's coming from. We have never been part-time. In fact, we are overtime, and we don't get paid for it. We get paid for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just like every other employee, and that is considered full-time. And any time that we work overtime, we get nothing for it. So I figure I work 24 hours a day on this job, and if anybody doesn't believe me, they can come and follow me around and see how many hours sleep I get at night. And I'm sure the rest of us all do the same. So when it comes right down to it, we make about $1.75, $2 an hour. So figure that one out. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Boskovich, sir.
I just want to say this is my first final budget meeting, and boy, has it been eye-opening. So there you go. I appreciate it.
Yes, it's not easy. Commissioner Carbone?
Unfortunately, the commissioner doesn't understand that he gets to come in front of us and explain the whole package. One-on-one. Not really, I don't have very much to talk about other than it's been a good meeting. A lot of folks put a lot of time into this. The finance organization actually buckled down and put some things together. You know, staff has been working very hard with finance. We've all had our day in court with the comptroller to voice our opinions about certain things. And again, we appreciate all the efforts from the rest of the directors and so on, because they did a lot of work as well. Knowing that they may not be able to get the people they need, they can actually figure out how to work with what they have. So we appreciate that too.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Strickland.
Commissioner Jabbour, thank you for hanging in there with us and leading us through this day. It's not easy when you don't feel well. Staff, thank you for, of course, staff, thank you for all your work. DA, thank you for being here for us. And I'd like to let everyone know I will not be here on June 6th. I have a funeral, believe it or not, on the 6th in Wichita, Kansas. I have yet to find out, we'll hear at the memorial, why my uncle has passed, why my aunt chose that day. So there is some memory there that serves her that I will discover. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Strickland, and my sincerest condolences to you and your family. It's not easy to lose loved ones, but being your uncle, I'm certain that he had a wonderful life. And something that my pastor, my priest, used to tell us, nobody was allowed to pass away during special events. And BOCC meetings are considered special events. So too late.
You know what?
We didn't get that message.
You know what? You make me laugh. Thank you. I needed that after. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair,
I know you're laughing at me. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner.
Chair, I do have some other things I forgot going through my mind as you were talking. I guess maybe we need to give direction on the items that we were talking about earlier about looking at resolutions on all the items that we have in regards to licensings That could be gaming,
Yes.
could be liquor license, could be any of our licensing and, or our permits or anything like that. We need to look at what we're actually looking at as far as fees are concerned and see if we need to do any kind of upgrading to that. I know Commissioner Boskovich and myself really want to pay attention to that and try to figure out where we can go and get some of these things done. I know that the director on planning is already working on looking at as much stuff as he can, so we appreciate that. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Carbone, for bringing that up. I will say, having the background in the hospitality, gaming, and liquor, I was actually, as Commissioner Boskovich mentions, an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener for me that the licensing fees were so minimal compared to what I was used to in Clark County and other parts of the state and in the industry. And all I'll ask is that as you sit down and you have the meeting of the minds and to put something together to be presented future, because only two of us can meet, right? And I appreciate you and Commissioner Boskovich working on this project. Let's be reasonable with, let's try to be reasonable, but at the same time, it's a wonderful and thinking outside of the box, a revenue stream coming in that I believe will be well received by the applicants, because so far they've been even shaking their heads saying, wow, I don't really have to pay that much for even a temporary license or an annual license, et cetera, whatever the case may be. So thank you for bringing that up. And as you know, my closing statement is to always protect your family and friends, especially your children, and conserve water and spay and neuter your pets. And you know, when I say conserve water, something that the town manager here in Tonopah mentioned years ago when I first met him, and he was the Tonopah Public Utilities Manager here in Tonopah. He said, you know, I really wish the children would learn to turn the faucet off when they load their toothbrush and start brushing their teeth. And I really wish they would take a quicker shower, or they wouldn't just flush the toilet just to flush the toilet, et cetera. And I said, you know, that would be a great campaign for you to go around in saving water and being green, going green, and educating the children now. And you believe it or not, we would be surprised, so surprised, I do it, but we would be so surprised how much water we save by turning the faucet off and not letting it just run, just to run because we're lazy and it's inconvenience. We think it's an inconvenience. So that's what I mean by helping to conserve water. And then it goes on with sprinkler systems and pools and leaks and this and that. And it took me a month to find a major water break on my property up here, and I paid an extra $1,000 just in water. Went back down into the basin, but I'm just happy that I was able to find it. So at this time, let me turn it over to the managers, directors. I see that we have our assessor, county assessor. Please, Ms. Stringer, go ahead.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I just wanted to say, Sherry Stringer, Nye County Assessor, Stringer. Someday I'll remember to do that. I just want to give a shout out to you folks for what you've been put through going through this budget. I know it's not easy. I've come up here many a times and asked for employees, and it doesn't always happen. I know everybody that had an employee that they wanted to, or a job description that they wanted to get on this year. I know it's tough. It's unfortunate. It doesn't happen the way we want it to happen because we feel that our departments are more important than somebody else's. So I want to thank Liz for all of her help. Her and Justin had many conversations on the phone. So I just want to thank you for that. Thank you, folks. Donna did touch on something that's near and dear to my heart, that, you know, you're an elected official. It's a 24/7 job. I'm on vacation today, and I spent my day here, okay? So instead of spending it with my grandkids that are at my house. So, you know, people just need to remember that, you know, what we do here as our jobs, we also do outside. You know, people stop you, they talk to you. You're not rude to them. You answer their questions. You give them the information that you know, to the best of your ability, or come to my office. You know, we're here just like you guys are. You answer the phones, whether you want to or not. I've called Tim on his personal phone and had conversations, you know, on his off time. He doesn't have to answer the phone. So I just want you guys to know how much that we do appreciate you, okay, what you do, all of the elected officials here, county managers, all of that. You know, we all have to work together, and it's unfortunate that our budget is the way that it is. So hopefully this year, now that we're out of the pandemic, everything will start to come, and we'll start to see some revenue again, and we can start picking up our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you for dedicating some time carving away and separating from your grandkids. I know that's hard, but thank you for the kudos as well. And thank you for what you do and your staff.
She's coming back to the podium. I'm afraid I'm going to have to allow her. Here you go, Chair.
Sorry, I forgot. I was up in Tonopah this weekend at Jim Butler Days, and my 5-year-old grandson won the mutton busting. And, oh yeah, he's got big old belt buckle, bigger than him, but I had to share that with you all. It's so cute. So if you get to see any of the pictures that are out there, it's called Wild Photography, I believe is what it is, but it's out there all over Facebook. He's got all kinds of pictures from the rodeo, so it was absolutely spectacular.
Go Cowboy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Are there any other managers?
No more here. Clerk does. Excuse me.
Me too.
Go ahead.
Liz Jordan, I just wanted to thank everybody. It's been a hard budget season, not only because, of course, we're short staff and stepping in and filling some shoes, but because obviously financially it was hard to, you know, get those numbers where they should be. And but I may have been driving the boat, but there was a complete staff behind me. So I wanted to thank them for their time and, of course, just sticking with it. As well as all the departments, because they've been very patient and gracious with, you know, me stepping into this role. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for everything. Is there anybody else besides the county clerk?
I think the DA said he wanted to say something. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead, county clerk. The floor is yours, sir.
That's okay, never mind. No, just a reminder that...
No, sir, thank you.
That must have been somebody else speaking, sorry. Anyhow, we have only 2 applicants for the committee to come up with the ballot issues relative to the 5-cent diesel tax. 1 for and 1 against. Sure would like to get some additional citizens. If you're don't like the potholes that you're driving on, sign up to be a advocate for that issue. If you don't want to ever see another tax again, you may want to sign up to be against that on the issue. So please, you can go to our website and sign up online. Give me a call. My number's in the on the website, and please just would like to see some volunteers. And the second item is, in the future, you're going to be seeing a lot of activity relative to fixing our precincts. Right now, I've learned a valuable lesson having to go through the Beatty Water and Sanitation District election, and we do have a new GIS administrator. What I've had them do is input the all the legal descriptions that we have. And when you look at those legal descriptions and compare those to our precincts, it's a very interesting story, and that we need to do some fixing. In addition, we have one of our precincts, which the legal limit under NRS 293 is to have 5,000 voters within a precinct would be the maximum. 5,000, sorry. 5,000 within a voting precinct.
Sorry.
You're thinking of district.
I was doing districts. Excuse me, clerk.
And it's not, that's not a maximum, it's just, it has to be within 10%. But nevertheless, when those precincts were redone at the beginning of the year, or not redone, whatever the case may be, we ended up at the primary having one precinct that just going into the primary was 57 voters short of that. By the time we got to the general election, we were 341 voters over that. So we were already set up to having to fix this. So what you'll see in the near future is some work going on along with the assessor's office. Justin and I are working together to make sure that we get our taxing districts aligned properly, because there's a few gaps in there also. We just want to make sure that we do it right, because we're going into a new voter registration and election management system that's being implemented by the state. And I want to make sure that when we go through this, we have a process in place, not only within the towns as they change boundaries. For example, the Beatty Water and Sanitation District is extending their reach, and they need to come up with the appropriate legal description and modify that so that we can keep track of that. And so the Beatty General Improvement District isn't right. The Amargosa is not right. Town of Amargosa is not right. Crystal's not right. Round Mountain is not right. So Tonopah, not right. And so we've got to get all these precincts correct, and then we can move forward. So that's coming down the pipe. Big project. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Is there anybody else, any other managers?
Yes, we have
wishing to
one
speak?
more, manager himself.
I just had a bet that we would end the meeting at 3 o'clock, so I'm just trying to stall. No.
Thank you, manager.
So something Commissioner Cox said I wanted to piggyback off of, and Assessor Stringer kind of beat me to the punch, but I don't know where the rumor came from that commissioners are part-time, but it's definitely not true. I know I've received emails from Commissioner Cox at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and I know that's not limited to Commissioner Cox. I know that every one of you on this board work extremely hard. I think people mistakenly assume that the bulk of your work happens in this meeting, and that's not true at all. And it doesn't even happen within the confines of this building. I know you're out and about. I know you take calls and make calls, send emails and receive emails at all hours of the day, and you respond to those emails. So I don't know where the rumor came from that you're part-time commissioners. I'd say the same thing for our department heads, but we get at least a living wage for what we do, whereas you guys don't. And so just want to say thank you for the service that you offer. And I wanted to correct the record for anybody who is under the impression that you're part-time commissioners.
And we appreciate that. You know, every one of us is sitting on this board is looking for new businesses to be here.
Yes.
More activities.
We've been really busy at that, haven't
That's-
all of us?
A lot of folks
Crazy.
don't realize how
No.
much these guys put in regards to getting more business here, to try to improve our way of life.
I was on the phone the other night at 11:35 with a constituent regarding an issue he's having. It's not uncommon.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Manager Sutton. I appreciate your practice dissertation that you're going to save for the next meeting when there's more public on the phone and in the audience. So thank you for the kudos, though. Before we adjourn, I also would like to welcome Sam back again. I would be remiss if I did not recognize Janie while Sam was on her mini vacation. Janie stepped up, took the bull by the horns, and with the help of Allie and Annie and Serena and Melissa, really stepped up to the plate. And I know, Sam, that you are very proud of them, as we are, because they took care of business and nothing fell short. And they were just determined to make you proud, and that you were able to relax and unwind and get back soon. And that's exactly what happened. So I want to thank all of the staff that helped and assisted and worked very, very hard, extra hard during your absence. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and ditto to my team.
Okay, and with that, how are we doing on time, Manager? Am I in on this? Was I included in this bet?
It's 2 minutes short.
I have a few more
We've
comments.
all been, because we're all throwing things in so we can get it by, but it ain't working.
I'm
One
not
more
sure,
minute, one more minute.
Okay, well, one more minute. Oh, so is the DA involved in this bet?
Apparently.
Oh, no, I wish I were.
Manager
Maybe the
Sutton, just
fire
for
chief was in on it.
clarification.
I don't know. Maybe the chief was in on it. I have no
Fire
idea.
chief. Fire chief, manager, please clarification. Did you bet the meeting would be over or before 3 o'clock?
Before, so.
Before 3 o'clock. Well, because we want you to lose this bet, let's prolong just 1 minute longer.
I'm just kidding. There's no bet. I was just joking.
Sure. Okay, meeting adjourned. 2:59.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Chair.